It's the Mixed Martial Arts Hour with
The Mixed Martial Arts Hour back in your life on this Monday, December 19th, 2016. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ariel Helwani back inside our New York City studio. So great to be here with you on another Monday, frigid New York City. Truth be told, we actually weren't going to do a show today. Historically, the great history of this program, we actually take the last 2 weeks off in December, but plans changed, and I said to everyone, I don't care if you guys want to take off. I want to be here on this Monday after UFC on Fox in Sacramento. There's a lot to break down from that particular card, and there's just too much going on in the world of MMA, so we're not taking 2 weeks off. New York Rick kicking and screaming, crying. He wanted his 2 weeks off, but I said, no, not this year. Ronda Rousey's coming back. There's tons of stuff going on, tons of news. There's a new UFC women's featherweight belt coming up that's been introduced. There's just too much going on, so we need to have a show, and there's a lot of people we need to talk to. And as always, we have a super stacked program for all of you. So this is very exciting. Of course, the big news this past weekend, UFC on Fox in Sacramento, UFC on Fox 22 main event featured Michelle Waterson submitting Paige VanZant in the first round. What a performance by Michelle Waterson, and what timing for her as well. That documentary that we've been talking about with her and on this show and in other places, the one called Fight Mom, produced by great Canadian documentarian / producer / director Sean Menard. It finally came out on Friday. Better late than never, I guess. And it came out on the Undisputed website, which is owned by LeBron James and his longtime agent and friend Maverick Carter. Comes out Friday, better than expected in my opinion, and it comes out 36 hours before her big fight on Big Fox, and she wins. And if you watch the documentary, you learn a lot about her highs and lows, and you learn that she's been searching for this moment her entire career. I mean, she's been doing this for quite some time. She is a veteran of the sport. She's one of the OGs, if you will, of Jackson Wink. And for whatever reason, UFC didn't have women in the organization. UFC didn't have her weight class, injuries. She never had this moment, and she gets it in a big way, in a moment that was sort of tailor-made for Paige VanZant. Main event, fighting in Sacramento, her adopted hometown, on Fox after the big switch kick knockout. Michelle Waterson comes up massively. And, I was reminded of when we were in Albuquerque after Holly Holm's victory at UFC 193. It just so happened, this is one of the great fortunes of my career. We end up going to Albuquerque right after Holly Holm defeats Ronda Rousey last November because we got that big John Jones interview. And we got the interview on a Wednesday and decided to stay an extra day to go to the new Jackson Wink and interview some of the fighters. I didn't know that Michelle Waterson was going to be there, but she ended up showing up kind of midway through the day. And I remember seeing her and talking to her about Holly, and it was very clear that she was very happy for Holly Holm. She was emotional when talking about Holly Holm. The entire city was so happy for Holly Holm. But it was also clear that it was a bittersweet moment for Michelle Waterson, because if you recall, last July 2015, she beat Angela Magana in her UFC debut. Solid victory for her. First show in the UFC for her. That was the Sunday after UFC 189. And the day I saw her at the gym in November of 2015, she was getting ready to fight Tisha Torres at UFC on Fox in Orlando, Florida, which just so happens to be a year ago exactly today. The famous Nate Diaz post-fight interview, Alistair Overeem defeating Junior Dos Santos, RDA defeating Donald Cerrone exactly 1 year ago today. How about that? So she was supposed to fight on that card against Tisha Torres, but she told me at the gym that she injured her knee and was out of the fight. We did an interview in the hallway, and you could tell that she's kind of, she's dealing with a range of emotions because her friend just won, the biggest fight of her life, but now she's out of her fight. And she got over that, and then she comes back, and she's supposed to fight Aisling Daly in September, and she re-injures her hand, the one that she broke against Angela Magana. So it was a solid year and a half since we've seen Michelle Waterson. So much happens in this sport. You wonder if someone, with the amount of fights that she's had, getting up there a little bit in age, will she ever get to realize that dream of being a big UFC star? And so knowing all of that and just remembering how she was on that day, so happy for her friend, so kind, one of the most kind-hearted people in the sport, but also just so bummed that she was, forced to pull out of that fight against Tisha Torres. Couldn't help but be very happy for Michelle Waterson, and really cool to see her husband in her corner, her mom, and of course her daughter, who's somewhat of a star in her own right, sitting cage side as well. She's a big part of the Fight Mom documentary. A very cool moment for their entire family, and now the UFC has a real special story on their hands, because not only is Michelle Waterson a great fighter, but she taps into so many different markets, as a female, as a mother, as someone who's been doing this for so long, her background as a model and all this. I mean, there's just so much that can be told when it comes to Michelle Waterson. And I really hope that they do a great job in telling that story. Now, you don't want to fast track her just yet. You don't want to put her in there against a Joanna Jędrzejczyk, but I do feel like maybe a fight against a top contender. And then if she wins that one, she could be a new face, if you will, in the 115-pound title picture. So what a great moment that was. I loved what she said afterwards about, her daughter telling her that if she won on Saturday night, that she would be her favorite fighter. A really great ending to that show, in my opinion. Unfortunate for Paige VanZant. It was amazing to me that this comment, which by the way was said on this show by Michelle Waterson about Paige VanZant, about her being green, became such a big story all week in Sacramento. I mean, she had to address that so many times. Paige had to address it. And I know I brought it up to her just because I wanted to get her comments, but it became way too big of a story, in my opinion. I mean, Paige VanZant is green. She is young. That doesn't mean she's not good. That doesn't mean that she's not, working on incredible skill and talent and maybe needs to be refined a little more. And she's like this piece of clay that could be molded. She's come a long way. But it just felt like it was way too big of a story. I mean, what do you want to call her? She's not a veteran. She's only been doing this for 2 years as far as the UFC is concerned. And prior to that, didn't have that many fights outside of the UFC. She's green, and that's okay. She's super tough. She's super durable. I don't think Michelle Waterson was disrespectful towards Paige VanZant at all. I mean, to do that to Paige VanZant, the last time we saw her lose a year ago to Rose Namajunas, and I know every fight is different, but it took a while to chip away at Paige. She kept coming back to finish her in the first round. I mean, that throw that led into taking her back and then the rear naked choke was amazing to watch. It really was. Michelle Waterson was on point. If she can fight like that each and every time, she's going to be a force to be reckoned with in that division. Nothing to be ashamed of when you're Paige. I do feel like they're pushing her a little too fast. Being in the main event, she should be fighting the Beck Rawlings of the world. And maybe we don't really quite know where Michelle is at because of the layoff, but, a lot has been said now about the way the UFC pushes Paige and Sage. I don't have a problem so much with them getting the spotlight, but you always need to be careful when it comes to those big prospects, especially the young ones, because you only have one or two chances to make that big impression. And these people are very young. They can have 15-year careers, and this will, we've talked time and again on this program about how losses, in MMA are just, just a blip on the radar. They don't mean as much as in boxing. You can lose one or two in a row and still come back and have a Hall of Fame career. But they just need to be careful with the way that they match them up, the cards that they put them on, how high they put them on the card, because people are looking to chop their legs off. People are looking to find holes in their game. And in this particular case, I don't have a huge issue with the matchups. Maybe they were a little too high, but I don't necessarily think that that's why they lost. I just feel like both of them in particular lost to better opponents on that particular night. So Michelle Waterson wins via first round submission. Mickey Gall defeats Sage Northcutt via second round finish. And what was to me notable about that fight was Sage Northcutt fought a great fight early on. I mean, I thought he was doing fantastic in the first round. And then we started to see this different side of Sage Northcutt. Sage Northcutt talking trash. Sage Northcutt standing over Mickey Gall and, trying to bait him and trying to get him to stand up, and just not the kind of Sage Northcutt that we've seen thus far in the UFC. I mean, we saw the dark side of Sage. And it was amazing to watch everyone on social media react the same way. Like, whoa, is this the Sage Northcutt heel turn? Is this when, Hall and Nash are going to show up and he's going to be the third guy? And then, of course, the picture of him and the Diaz brothers surfaces on Saturday after the fight. And I mean, just think of the possibilities there. I don't think Sage Northcutt has too much to be ashamed of as far as that fight is concerned. I thought he fought a good a good first round. And the ground game continues to be his Achilles heel. But I don't think it was, for example, as bad as the Brian Barberena loss. And by the way, I think it goes to show once again that Mickey Gall, is pretty darn good, and he's going to have a good career. And Mickey Gall was a lot more seasoned from a skill standpoint than I thought any of us predicted CM Punk's first opponent would be. Mickey Gall is going to be around for a while. He's very good. He understands the game. He understands how to market himself. He understands how to talk, but he understands how to fight as well. His striking looked better. His ground game, we know all about it. His only misstep was the call out, in my opinion. It was a misstep because I think the UFC wants to get on board with this gimmick of him calling people out. They gave him Punk. They gave him Sage. I think if the target was realistic, and by the way, in case you missed it, he called out Dan Hardy, who hasn't fought in quite some time, who last we heard still has his heart issues, and we'll find out more from him later on in the show, who's never fought at 155, and Gall says he now wants to fight at 155, as does Sage, wants to go back to 155, and I think that's 100% the smart move on at least Sage's part because he's had way more success at 155. But I think that they wanted to get behind it. They can't fulfill this request. Like, you pick the guy that isn't on the menu. If you would have picked Orlando Venata, so to speak, and I know that's not really what he was going for, but someone who's active, I think they would have fulfilled his request. The problem with this call-out was Hardy's not active, and there are no signs, at least as of right now, unless he knows something that we don't, that he's coming back anytime soon. So it felt a little too much like a reach, in my opinion. They want to get behind this. Clearly, they're going to get behind Mickey Gall, regardless of who he's calling out. But I think that they would have obliged if the call-out made sense. And I think the call-out was just a little too far-fetched. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out later in the show. Also, Uriah Faber fights his final fight. He retires on a high note. He beats Brad Pickett. And by the way, Mickey Gall submitted Sage Northcutt. I kind of skipped that detail. But anyhow, Uriah Faber beats Brad Pickett in a great fight. Almost got his first finish via strikes in the UFC in the first round. Brad Pickett's super tough. And I have a feeling that he may have his own retirement fight, perhaps in March in London. But it was all about Uriah Faber. I thought the UFC and Fox did a fantastic job in selling the moment, in making it feel special, having the broadcasters talk about their favorite Uriah Faber moment. That package at the end of the prelims gave me goosebumps. I thought it was wonderfully written. I thought it was on point. It really captured who he was, what he meant to the sport, especially for those newer fans who I got the sense, especially on Saturday, didn't quite understand who Uriah Faber was, what he meant to the sport, what he meant to the lighter weight fighters, what he meant to WEC. He was the face of that company. He was their champion. He was their biggest star, their biggest draw. He was everything to WEC. And it was so amazing that he got that final fight. He got that final win in Sacramento, that they showed the walkout. He got the championship walkout, California love. What a great, and you feel for Brad Pickett, one of the nicest guys in this sport, who needed his win, needed a win in his own right. He didn't get it. He fought very, very hard, and he hung in there. But it was, it kind of felt like fate wanted Uriah Faber to win. That was a really cool moment. Really cool to see him and Dominic Cruz sort of bury the hatchet afterwards on the post-fight show. And the really nice gesture by Cruz to give him the WEC, I think it was 26 poster, but this time, no autograph on Faber's face. If you don't know the story, when they fought for the first time back at WEC, I think it was 26 back in the day. Let me just make sure that that's right. WEC 26. Was that it? Yeah, Dominic Cruz and Uriah Faber back in 2007. Cruz wasn't on the poster, so he signed his name. When they show those guys checking in and they're signing their names, he signed his name on Faber's face. And that really pissed off Faber. And that's really where the rivalry started. So on the post-fight show, Dominic Cruz gave Uriah Faber a WC 26 poster. Signed, but not on his face, which I thought was awesome. For longtime fans, that was so cool. Great moment by Fox to make that happen. Great moment by Dominic Cruz as well. And it was just really nice to see Faber go out with a victory. And it was also interesting on the same night as Bernard Hopkins fighting in his final fight. And some people didn't get when I tweeted about this. Credit to Uriah Faber for knowing when to say when. And that's not only knowing when to say when as far as your career is concerned, but knowing the right time with your body, your age, knowing the right place, you know, the city that he made so famous in the sport, his hometown now, his adopted hometown of Sacramento, originally from Santa Barbara, but, you know, synonymous with the city of Sacramento and especially that MMA scene. The right opponent, everything was perfect for Uriah Faber on this night. And for Bernard Hopkins, a guy, you know, who's 51 years old, it wasn't perfect. You know, why is Bernard Hopkins, and I'm not going to get too much into this, but why is he fighting in Inglewood? A guy who is so synonymous with Philly boxing, why is he fighting in Inglewood, California in his final fight? And then you have that scene of him getting knocked out of the cage, and I don't care what he says, it didn't look to me like he got pushed. It looked like he got knocked out of the cage. And of course, stayed around way too long. I mean, no one who's 51 should be fighting, I think, in boxing on that kind of stage. To me, and his last fight was in November of 2014. Faber knew exactly, and all I was trying to say was, it is so rare in combat sports to see a fighter know when to say when, to be able to go out on his own terms. And rest assured, the UFC may not have known about Faber's plans to retire when they booked him on that card, but Faber, he put that all together perfectly. The right card on Fox, the right place, Sacramento, the new arena, the right kind of opponent, the right age. He's not slipping. He's not a shell of his former self. I mean, that was beautiful to watch and very, very rare in this sport, especially for a former champion, especially for someone who's had so much success over the years. And I believe Faber when he says this is it for him. I mean, you hear him talk about other avenues, other businesses, other endeavors that he wants to tackle. Faber gets it, and he's always gotten it. He understands how to prop up his other teammates. He understands how to, you know, build a gym from the ground up. He understands how to be a businessman. He understands how to be a promoter. I've said he's always kind of reminded me of Oscar De La Hoya, not with the extracurricular activities, you know, the scandals, if you will, but it always felt like he was a promoter, and not just of fights, but of himself, of his team, of his fellow fighters, of his teammates. He always kind of understood that game better than most. My favorite Uriah Faber moment outside of fighting was when he lost to Renan Barão and got on the mic at UFC 169 and said, you know, this sucks. That fight should have continued, in my opinion, but TJ Dillashaw is next and he should be next. Like, he was always thinking about his guys. And if you want to say he had a stake in his guys, if, you know, he was getting a cut from a managerial perspective, whatever, he still always did a great job in promoting the rest of the team as well. And you know, he just, you knew that Faber would know when to say when. And so it was interesting on that night to see Faber go out like that. Perfect platform, perfect setting, perfect scenario, perfect opponent, all that stuff. And Hopkins just didn't. He just didn't. I don't care. You could tell me to stay in my lane. You could tell me that I'm not a boxing guy. Hopkins didn't do it the right way. Stayed around too long, wasn't in the right city, clearly wasn't the right opponent. And that obviously wasn't the right ending. And, of course, Alan Jouban defeating Mike Perry, a great win for him. A very smart win for him, a technical win. He didn't get involved in a brawl. It was I thought, one of his better performances in the UFC. So I thought UFC on Fox was a really good show. The prelims were great. We got the debut of Paul Craig, Bear Jew, the Scottish fans, very excited about him. We had Leslie Smith in what I thought was obviously one of the best fights of the night. It won the Fight of the Night award. She defeats Irene Aldana in her UFC debut. Unfortunate for Cole Miller, his last UFC fight, at least as of right now, it doesn't go his way. That was the last fight on his contract. He tells me that he did have a nice conversation with Sean Shelby at the show. Dana White wasn't there, so we'll see what comes of that. But that's really all there is to any kind of update as far as his grievances are concerned. Colby Covington with a nice win over Brian Barberina. The show ended relatively early. I mean, who hates a Fox show, right? I mean, the show ends at like 10:30 Eastern time. Who in any market, in any city, in any country in this world would not want the shows to go like that? 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. 4 fights on the main card. Throw a fifth one, whatever. Let it go to 10:30. But just starting early, I think, helps everyone. Even if you're in England or Asia. It's just early is better, in my opinion. Anyway, that's the rundown of UFC on Fox. Mr. New York Rick, did you watch the show or were you out on Saturday? Holiday shopping, holiday parties?
Nice try. Of course I watched it.
You were watching?
I was watching and getting enthusiastic about the rest of the shows we got lined up for this year.
What do you mean for this year?
You're feeding the information out to the people that I was griping about the shows. How dare you?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You said that I wanted my holiday time. I wanted to take 2 weeks off.
Yes.
You said that at the top of the show.
Yes, I did.
I've been stewing about that for the last 20 minutes.
I totally forgot about that.
But yeah, I did see the show, of course.
Biggest takeaway? Do you disagree with anything I just said?
No, but to address something I said last week, that show should have been headlined by Uriah Faber.
I still disagree.
No.
Because it was his moment, big star, blah, blah, blah.
You get Waterson's win over Page could have done just as well in the co-main event. Would have been just as good. You know, and it's you're reaching the crescendo. You hit Uriah Faber, and then you lose a little bit. It's just the reality of it.
By the way, the ratings,
fantastic.
Yeah, and I mentioned this on Twitter, but it's a true story. You know, when it comes to the Fox shows, when they have a main event, they'll usually, air these packages throughout the card, which can be very tiresome and makes the show drag, in my opinion. But there was a point, throughout the night, my wife was going to a holiday party. I couldn't go. I had to hold down the fort with the 3 kids. And she saw it. She recognized Paige because I showed her some Dancing with the Stars clips. And I actually showed her half of Fight Mom, the documentary, on Friday night. And she's like, oh, these two are fighting? She's never said this to me. Please tape the fight for me. I want to see it when I get home. And that, in a nutshell, is why those two are headlining. And especially in this day and age, and we'll talk about this later on in the show with the women's featherweight title, we're moving more and more away from sport and moving towards entertainment. And that's no knock on Paige and Michelle. They're going to find hooks, angles, fighters that will cater to the mass market.
Sure.
And what we've learned from UFC on Fox now is number one contender fights, big fights, title fights even in the headlining act won't often sell as much as these kind of fights. UFC on Fox has gone from heavyweight title fights, number one contender fights only, to now trying to find the fights that will cater to the non-MMA fan the most. Gall Northcutt, Faber's retirement fight, Paige Van Zandt against Michelle Waterson. I really have no problem with them putting it in the main event because that's what's going to attract those eyeballs more. All the hardcore fans are going to watch for Faber, and they're still going to watch for the main event too. But if you can get those two faces on the poster, you're undoubtedly going to attract more non-MMA fans than you would if it's Pickett and Faber up there. That's just a fact.
That's fair enough. I think you can find a way to make that work. You put them on the poster anyway. Faber at the top, and you put them on the poster. But we'll agree to disagree.
Okay, fair enough. What do you think of the? And there was a lot to talk about as far as the broadcast is concerned. But what do you think of the Cruz Garbrandt head-to-head interview?
Hard to say because there was a 30-second gap in the middle.
But they, to their credit, they posted the full thing on UFC on Fox on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, it was pretty much what I expected, to be honest.
I loved it.
Dominic Cruz is hard to beat on the mic.
I think he's
good.
Beatable. I think he's beatable on the mic. I think people are building him up to be this.
You can bet that I will be clipping this one for social media. Ariel Helwani says
is beatable on the mic. And guess what? I think Cody Garbrandt is holding his own. I think he is 100% holding his own. And
now,
I think
if we had Dominic on the show today instead of Cody, would your tune be the same?
100% not. and I'll say that to him. Look, everyone's beatable. You just have to find the right things. You just have to find the right angles. You have to find what makes him tick.
But that's what makes him not beatable, because Cruz always finds the right angles.
Look, and that
comes to fighting and to talking trash.
He's a great arguer. He's a great debater. He's wonderful at it. But I think having them side by side, and also he has way more experience than all these guys like Dillashaw, Garbrandt. He's got way more experience than them.
No doubt about it.
He has been perfecting this, and he has a platform to perfect his speaking skills on Fox. But I thought it was great. I thought it was entertaining. It was fresh. It was real. It was authentic. I thought it was a mistake not having them side by side. They're both in the damn building. Have them side by side. And of course, when things started to heat up, not showing them the entire time and going to the B-roll and the generic music was a mistake as well. And I thought they over-censored. It was too
clearly.
Like, I mean, you go back and look at the non-censored version. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's. I'm gonna go get caught.
Okay, yeah. Let me run down today's show. I didn't even get to that because there's so much to talk about. 3:45, we're going to talk to Dan Hardy, get an update on him, find out what he thinks of the call out. 3:25, we'll talk to Mickey Gall, talk to him about the win, the trash talk, the call out, etc. 3:05, we'll talk to Michelle Waterson about her big win over Paige Van Zandt. 2:45, we'll talk to Cody Garbrandt about the tete-a-tete interview, the debate with Dominic Cruz. I'm just happy they didn't fake look at each other like Chael Sonnen and Tito Ortiz did on that Bellator show. 2:25, we'll talk to Jorge Masvidal, who's fighting Don Cerrone. He gets his wish. He's fighting Don Cerrone at the next UFC on Fox show in Denver. 2:05, we'll talk to the Bear Jew himself, Paul Craig, about his big UFC debut. Successful UFC debut. A lot of people in Scotland very excited about Mr. Paul Craig, and especially in that division. You know, last week we got Misha Serkinov, who looked very good in my opinion, in Toronto, and now we got Paul Craig. All of a sudden, there are some prospects at light heavyweight, so that is good to see. So we'll talk to Paul Craig at 2:05. 1:45, we'll talk to Mike Winkeljohn. There's a lot to talk to Mike Winkeljohn about because, you know, of course, he is the main coach for Holly Holm, so we'll talk to him about that fight going down in Brooklyn, Holly Holm versus Jermaine Derandamy for the UFC women's featherweight title, and how weird it is that they are finally bringing in that belt and Cyborg is not a part of it. That's the only reason to bring the belt. I still can't get over it. Anyway, but I understand why. I'm just saying it's hard to wrap my head around it, but you got to understand why the UFC is doing these things. Dave Meltzer wrote a great article about it on Friday on our website. We could talk to him about John Jones. We could talk to him about a whole bunch of things. Michelle Waterson, he was in her corner on Saturday as well, and all the comings and goings at the Jackson Wink team. And in a matter of moments, we are going to be joined by Cub Swanson, who I actually wanted to talk to last week on this program, but he was traveling during the program. He, of course, is coming off that amazing win over Doo Ho Choi. I watched it again last night. It's amazing. What a great fight. Fight of the year contender for sure. You wonder what would have happened if it was a 5-round. Someone said to me last week that there should be 2 Fight of the Year awards. There should be one for the 5-round fights and another for the 3-round fights. And I think it's a valid point. You might be watering it down a touch if you do that, but it's a valid point. There are a lot of fights that you're like, man, if it was 2 more rounds, what would have happened? And certainly, I mean, if it's a 3-round fight, there's that one. There's a few other ones. The Reyes fight from 199. Still kind of leaning towards Condit and Lawler, which happened, by the way, you know, last fight on the first card of the year. And another reason why I didn't want to miss today's show, when I think about that fight, I think about this. We've done this show, by the way, 51 straight weeks in 2016. We haven't missed a show this year. New York Rick missed like 4 because he had a honeymoon in the middle of the year, his 3rd honeymoon of his marriage. But we haven't missed a show. I missed one, of course, when my lovely new daughter was born. But we have given you 51 straight live episodes. So I didn't want that streak to end just yet. And so when I think of it, it all started back, I think it was January 4th of this past year when we did that year-end award show and also talked about Lawler and Condit. And I said on that show that wouldn't it be something if the first show of the year, the main event of the first show of the year, ends up being the fight of the year. So we shall find out. But for now, let's go to the Skype machine and talk to Mr. Cub Swanson, who was in Sacramento, by the way, to watch that UFC on Fox show. There he is, Mr. Cub Swanson himself. How are you, Cub?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Have you? How many times have you watched your fight thus far?
I mean, I saw the highlights quite a few times, but I actually watched the fight twice. I watched it a minute ago just because I figured you were going to ask me a lot of questions, so I should probably watch it.
Do you enjoy watching it again?
I do. I always like to enjoy my work, and then I'm pretty critical, so then I start dissecting it and going, all right, I could have done this better, you know.
What's the biggest thing that you wish you did better in that fight?
I think pressure him a little earlier. the game plan was to kind of go out there and stick and move, because I knew I was going to have to brawl with them. I told the coaches, because they wanted me to kind of play that game plan the whole time, and I was like, look, I just don't think chipping away at this kid is going to put him away. I think I'm going to have to brawl with him, and I have no problem with that, but he's pretty sharp, so I wanted to like chip away at him and then brawl with him, because he's used to finishing people in the first round. So I wanted to get him a little tired and then brawl with him, so he wasn't as sharp and then start to like break down.
What has the past week been like for you? I mean, do you feel like people view you differently? Are you getting a little more respect? I knew you were at that show in Sacramento. People love that fight. Like I said, fight of the year contender. Are you feeling the love?
Oh, definitely. It's funny. I'm not too big on compliments, so it's a little strange, especially, having been in the sport for a while. It's like, a couple fights ago, people were like, you suck, you should retire.
Sure.
Now it's the complete opposite. People are like, somebody told me that was the fight of the century, and I was like, I don't really know if that was the fight of the century. I think it was really good, but come on.
Do you think it's the fight of the year?
Possibly. I mean, I would give it to Condit and Lawler, because there was a lot at stake, and it was a 5-round fight, and they threw down. So, I mean, that would have been my pick.
Do you think that there should be 2 awards for fight of the year, 5-round fight and 3-round fight?
I mean, that makes sense. And I mean, I feel like we should get extra bonuses for that.
Yeah, you should. Although
more importantly.
Yeah. Like you're saying, if you win a fight of the year award or fighter of the year, or knockout of the year, that they should give you an extra bonus, you're saying, the UFC?
I think so.
Yeah. I think that the UFC should do their own award show, like they do in the NHL now with the NBA, like where you guys go. I know there's a fighters only one, but I feel like the UFC should do their own, and that should be, a stipulation that if you win one of those awards, you get 50,000 more or whatever. We should do that. Petition to.
Yeah, I mean, there'd be a lot of cool ones, like most strikes landed in a year, most takedowns landed. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a stats guy, so. I watch the NFL, and I'm always looking at stats and seeing who's who, and that's what makes me like college football, because I start seeing all the players that are coming up, and then I watch them go into the NFL, and I keep track of them, see who lived up to the hype and who didn't.
As a veteran of the sport, are you proud of a fight like that? Because you did. You took a lot of shots. He took way more shots. But like, is that, I think of some fighters who say, I don't want the fight of the night award because that means I was in a brawl. I was in a war. Do you want those kind of fights at this stage of your career?
It's good, for the fans, and it's going to be good for me looking back. I'd like to have easier nights.
Yeah.
My easiest night was the last time I fought in Toronto with Charles Oliveira. And, that was a weird feeling too, because that one I almost got upset with him, because I was like, I had such a hard training camp, and I thought that he gave up, and it just pissed me off. I don't know, maybe there's no making myself happy, but I can enjoy it, but I prefer an easier night at this stage of my career, just because it hurts a little bit more.
Sure.
Walking the next days, traveling, trying to get home, was painful.
Yeah, because you had to stay overnight in Chicago, right?
Yeah, they shipped my bags all the way home. And so I was stuck in Chicago with just like a light jacket. And, obviously I packed all my big stuff. Thought I was going to be on a plane, so.
Easier to stomach that sort of scenario coming off of a win like that. I would imagine you're probably in a good mood and not much bothers you.
Yeah, I was trying to, I was like, let's make the best of it. Free vacation in Chicago. Yeah, it wasn't the worst thing in the world.
By the way, any injuries coming out of the fight?
No.
Nothing.
No, I mean, I healed up. I had a couple stitches in the top of my head. That was from a headbutt. I think I hit him with a combo and came down with my head down. I don't know where I hit him, but I have a couple stitches on the top of my head. Those are out. So my ankle's a little sore from one of the first kicks I threw. He pulled back and I kind of hyperextended it. But other than that, I feel fine.
My 2 favorite moments in that fight actually had nothing to do with the action itself. The first one came in between the first and the second round. They go to the corner audio, and your longtime coach, Greg Jackson, sort of asks you this nursery rhyme question about what did the fish say when it hit the wall? And then you say, oh, damn, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and the amazing thing about it is it's like just in the flow of the conversation, like he's telling you stuff, your corner is talking to you, and then he just asks you this question, and you take a beat, and then you just say, "Oh, damn," and he's like, "All right, we're on, let's go." He's done that to you before?
Yeah. He always asks me, like, or tells me a joke or a riddle, and he's just trying to see, like, where I'm at mentally.
That's amazing.
And so he wanted to see if I was rocked. I wasn't. I was fine. I was in my own head. We were keeping kind of a higher pace than I would have liked, but I trained for it. So he was just telling me what to do, and then he was asking me a question to see if I was paying attention, if I was retaining, or if I was in my own head.
Sure. Does he do that every fight?
Usually.
Wow. And it's always a different question?
Yeah. He's got a couple. Sometimes I get them right. Sometimes I can't think because it's just so much is going on.
Sure. But has he asked you that particular one before?
Yeah, he asked me that one before, but I never got it right.
Wow, so if you get it wrong, what does that say to him?
I mean,
he's still going to let you fight, right?
It usually does the same effect because sometimes I've been like, I don't know, and then he'll tell me, and then we both kind of laugh, and then I go back out there.
And does he do that with all the other? I've never heard him do that before. Is that just something that you and him do?
I don't know, to be honest. He knows that, I go out there and I do my thing and I'm so in my own head, like dissecting the fight, that when I come out in between rounds, his job is just to kind of relax me and keep me happy.
Sure.
Give me positive feedback and then tell me what he'd like me to do more of. So that's our thing.
You've never asked one of your teammates, hey, does Greg ask you these riddles in between rounds?
No.
I would have, but okay. I don't hate you for not. And then my second favorite part was that picture. I mean, that moment really. And there's now this picture that the UFC took. I think the gentleman's name is Jeff Botari for Getty Images and the UFC. The fight is over. Clearly, you have won. The horn sounds, and you are on your knees, and you're looking up at the sky, and it's kind of like you're thanking the crowd. I don't know exactly what, but there's just so much that you can say. We're showing our own Esther Lynn's version of it, which is from the side, equally great. What are you doing there?
I was just acknowledging the crowd. I'm not one of the guys that talks a lot before fights. I don't really enjoy all that. I've always believed in just going out there and putting on the best show possible. I understand that I'm an entertainer and a fighter as well. So, I mean, I was trying to give the crowd, acknowledgement. Every once in a while I'll give a thumbs up or I'll do something. It's fun for me. If I'm not having fun with it, then why am I doing it?
Yeah.
So, with 18,000 people, on their feet screaming, that was the biggest crowd I've ever fought in front of.
Wow.
And so, it was amazing, just the energy in the crowd. And it was half me kind of saying thank you and half saying, thank God it's over.
Yeah,
I was exhausted.
I would imagine there are times throughout the fight where you're like, what more do I have to do to this guy to end him, right?
Yeah, there was a few times that I was hitting him with flurries that I was like, Jesus, I turned my head for a second to like look for the referee to see like, are you going to stop this? And then when I would like look back, he was already there and trying to fire back, and I'd be like, man, this guy he just won't go down.
Yeah. Is that a weird feeling for you? Like, do you start to lose confidence? Do you start to question, I have to hit harder? Because I heard you tell our colleague Luke Thomas that you don't even hit a heavy bag that hard.
Yeah. And that's like the crazy thing is, with the amount of times that I've broken my hands, and
yes,
as I've been doing this for going on 14 years professionally, you get a little arthritis and you ache if you hit like the bags too hard over and over and over. So if I'm going to do power on the bags, I have to wear bigger gloves, and it's like, that's a padded bag, and I don't try to hit it that hard. And I was hitting him with everything I had, and he was just taking it. So it was tripping me out. And
incredible.
It wasn't frustrating. I knew that I was doing a lot of damage, and I wish his corner would have threw in the towel, to be honest.
Earlier.
Yeah, because
third round.
Yeah, especially in the third, because I mean, I could see on his face he was just in there with all heart.
Wow.
And he's a young, talented fighter. Like, what's the point of taking damage like that?
Sure. So if you're him, his age, coming up, would you have wanted your corner to throw in the towel?
No. I mean, he could be pissed, but I feel like that should be more of a thing.
Sure.
Honestly, we're fighters. Like, you look at my fight with Holloway. I didn't even tell my corner I broke my hand or broke my jaw, and I fought 3 rounds.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, that's just what I'm going to do, because in my mind I kept thinking, no, you can still win this. You can still win this. But that's the way we train, is to never give up.
Yeah.
So, you know, you almost need somebody to go, hey, you know, another day. You know, it's like in boxing that happens all the time.
Sure.
So, you know, the coaches will say, hey, I'm going to give you one more round. If you don't do something different, if you go out there and it looks the exact same, I'm not going to allow you to take damage anymore.
I love that.
So, I mean, on one hand, he was still in the fight, but at the same time, at the end of the fight, I tried to like pick him up to, like, you know, get him back on his feet, and he didn't even seem like he knew where he was.
Wow.
I was like, I let go, and then I was kind of confused, and then they pulled me away. But yeah, he was out of it.
There was also a moment that has surfaced online where, you know, Greg was wearing a microphone, and your other cornermen were kind of getting excited and telling you to go, and he's like, relax, discipline. And I'm wondering if you could hear that. I mean, obviously you can't hear the whole thing, but could you hear them getting excited? And did you like Greg's approach more of just chill? Like, were they getting you too excited? Because it did seem like when they were yelling that, you started to swing a little more wildly.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm in between those two. I heard that clip, and they saw that I was having a lot of success with pushing him backwards, and they wanted me to keep pushing him backwards. But I got excited just because, you know, I was excited. Yeah. But I could see what Greg meant. And then the reason he was so, like, emotional was kind of a trip. I got a text from him about a few hours before the fight. Before the fight started, I was on the treadmill doing, like, my pre-workout. And Greg texted me, and he's like, hey, I don't think I'm going to be there. My flight got canceled. They put me on another flight. I don't even know if that one's going to take off because of the Buffalo. He was there the night before.
Yeah, Albany. Yeah.
And then, so I didn't tell my other coaches because I didn't want them to stress about it. I was just kind of like, we'll be okay, you know? And then I texted them a couple hours later. I was like, hey, you know, any luck? And the text never went through.
Oh, man.
So I was like, oh. And then I was watching my teammate Lando fight as I was getting all my stuff together to go down to the fight. And I saw Greg in his corner, so I was like, sweet. You know, he made so I'll have a coach there. And so I know that he was up on a high from that fight. And then right before I fought Tim Kennedy, you know, he didn't perform so well. And I know they didn't expect that. And so he came back, you know, down, and then my fight got him back up. So I felt like he was on an emotional roller coaster. And so I feel like he acted like a little bit out of his normal character because he's the calm one usually.
Sure. It was.
Yeah, but I mean, everybody was excited, and they all wanted me to win. They are all on the same page. So.
Sure. Afterwards, in the cage and at the press conference, you were talking, and I feel like you were saying something, and then there was more to what you were saying when you were talking about coming back and you know, the respect and wanting bigger fights and wanting to be talked to. What were you really trying to say to us there? Can you tell us? I feel like there was more to what you were saying.
It just, you know, it's all business, right?
Yeah.
You know, and people are always like, it's just business. You know, when people attack you on Twitter, when you get treated a certain way, but it's not, you know, it's like, this is my life. This has been my job. This has been my, like, everything I've done. So it's just like, people are like, don't take it personal. Well, I do, because I go out there, every interview I do, I'm 100% honest. You know, every time I fight, I leave everything I have out there. So when people say don't take it personal, it's hard not to. So
who said that to
me coming from Huh?
Who said that?
Just people in general.
Okay.
Say that. Fans, media, friends, family, don't take it personal. You're like, you would.
Yeah.
I always laugh. It's like, I'd like to do like parody videos of somebody, getting fired at work, or like having a bad day, and then me being right there, go, oh man, that part when you cried when he fired you, that was great.
Yeah.
That was a good one. It's like this job is crazy and not normal. You know what I mean? It's not a normal thing. So people say don't take it personal. It's hard not to. So like I was saying, coming up from Palm Springs, there was nobody here doing what I did 13 years ago, wanting to pursue this as a career. I feel like what I did coming from here was hard to do. Making it all the way to the top and then not getting certain respect is I feel like is not fair.
Is there a chance you don't fight again?
It's possible. I mean, at this stage in my career, it's like I enjoy what I do and I take it one fight at a time. But to fight a guy like that and be an underdog to me is a little disrespectful. I thought that he was a great up and coming fighter, and to me that just tells me people think, oh, you're close to, you're on your way out.
Yeah.
And I hate that because I make it on my terms.
Sure. So what do you think the chances are that you do fight again? Like, are you leaning towards not?
No, I'm pretty sure I'll fight again. I'm pretty positive because I think they'll come at me with a big fight.
Okay.
But I'm just not into the whole, begging for a title fight and it's like I gotta have these managers try to get a whole campaign about it.
Yeah.
And when I do that before and I tried to do it in my own way and unsuccessful at it, it just took the love out of it. Every day people are, you read the social media and you get it, you're trying to fire back and trying to stay in the whole conversation of it. And it's just like, it means nothing to me. It's like, if you want to give me the title shot, if you want to give me the big fights, then just give it to me. Like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to perform, but for me to have to like say, please give it to me. And like, no, my fighting speaks for itself.
Right.
My performance too. It's like when I lost the 2 fights, I got knocked all the way back, quite a bit. And I had to take fights to get back to where I'm at. So I won 3 in a row against pretty tough guys, and I'm back up in the mix. So I should let that speak for itself.
Do you have an ideal fight next? Like, if you had your way? I'm not asking you to beg for it or ask for it, but just like in your mind, he's like, oh man, this would be perfect.
The winner of Aldo and Holloway, and then obviously if one of them gets injured, call me.
Okay, so you're gonna stay ready for that card?
I mean, right now I'm taking the holidays off, but I'll be back in the gym in January and just try to stay in shape because I think I'd be stupid to not,
Sure. Last quick thing. You were there in Sacramento. You saw Faber's last fight, and I know you never fought him, but you fought a lot of the same people, and you were part of WEC, fought on the same cards. What does Uriah Faber mean to you?
Man, for a long time, I just thought I was this close to fighting him.
Yeah.
So I was always we weren't friends or nothing, but he was great for the sport. He carried the division for a long time, and it definitely helped pave the way for guys like me. So I think he had an awesome career, and glad to have been in the same circles with him for years and years.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Cub. I appreciate it. Congratulations on a phenomenal performance. It was great being there in Canada, and it was great seeing the Toronto fans show you guys so much love. They went from chanting his name early in the fight to just showering you with praise, and deservedly so afterwards. So enjoy the holidays. Thanks for coming on early, and appreciate the time as always. And oh, by the way, thanks for getting me again with the damn sticker. You always get me with that thing. It's amazing. I think you're trying to be nice, and then of course I get got, as they say.
Hey, well, I mean, it means that I care about you. That's what it means.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Cub. All the best to you.
All right.
There he is, Cub Swanson, winner of that Fight of the Year contender against Doo Ho Choi. Okay, let's move along. One of the coaches over there, namesake over at Jackson Wink, the great coach Mike Winkeljohn, joining us right now on the phone from Albuquerque, I believe. Mike, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us. So Saturday was a good night for you with Karate Hottie Michelle Waterson winning. Was that your only fighter on the card?
Yep, that was our only fighter on the card, which was actually real nice. We could focus just on what she needed, and man, that's a smart young lady. She performs well.
I'll ask you specifically about that fight in a second, but there was a point I think around July where people were saying like, oh, this is kind of a down period for Jackson Wink. You guys were losing some fights in a row, and this game, it's cyclical. You come right back up. But I feel like we're ending the year on a high note here with some big wins, some of your key guys. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I definitely agree with that. We had the same thing happen to us in 2014. We had a low period where it was people were saying things, and we kind of finished up high. And then 2015, pretty much kicked ass. So it's part of what we do. People say, oh, we're losing fights, but it's one of those things. There's one winner and one loser, and at the highest level, we get our guys there, and they don't lose hardly any fights. And when they get there, that's the highest level. So if you get just about 51% of them, we're apparently doing better than everybody else.
When that starts to become a trend and a narrative, do you feel the morale in the gym start to get affected? Do you feel like you have to talk to the guys to not overthink this sort of thing?
Yeah, it does. It actually does affect the morale a little bit. People start talking about it just a little bit, but like everybody, we there's always a reason for it. We're not following game plans. There's a little bit people are off on condition a little bit, or there's clicks here and there where people are not using the resources that we have. Something's gone wrong in what we've been doing, and we've always turned it around. So hopefully we'll continue to do that at the end of this year and early into next year.
Okay, so back to Michelle. What a phenomenal performance. It was in many ways, I thought, flawless. When she accepted this fight, were you confident it would go like that she would be that dominant?
No, not dominant. I was confident she could win the fight. There's no doubt about it. I believe in Michelle's skills. I mean, I felt she was more technical everywhere, and she knows how to win. It's just the way it is. She just knows how to win. She can always pull it out. She had the one loss on her defending her title, but that was a game of inches of one punch. She slipped on a kick and she got hit with one punch. I mean, that was basically it, and that changed the whole fight. So she's that good.
She mentioned afterwards that she thought the decision to switch stances early really messed up Paige, and she looked, very, very effective on her feet early on. Obviously, that was something you guys came up with. Was that early in the camp that you thought that would confuse her?
Yeah, it comes from, honestly, I won't lie, Michelle broke her hand again in camp and early on. And so I said, well, I'm going to do what we did with Holly. Let's just start going back to our kicks a little bit. And Michelle's so good from both sides, but from that southpaw stance, she can really side kick people and hurt them. I thought she broke one of the coaches before the fight with it, getting warmed up. But that was from the southpaw side. I said, the nice thing about this is nobody scouted it before. So southpaw plus kicking like that, they'll just stop in time. And I figured Paige, I really thought Paige was coming hard. And she didn't. And at the moment, I was thinking, oh, okay, she's not coming hard. She's going to take some time. It didn't dawn on me that she was probably hesitating. And the other coach said, yeah, you could tell it on her face. She was trying to figure it out. I was just so enthralled with her footwork, trying to figure out why she's not coming. But I think that played a little bit.
Wait, so Michelle broke her hand in this training camp for this fight?
No, the last one, before her last fight.
Okay, so, yeah. Before the Ashley Gailey fight.
Yeah, and then she busted her hand, and they put a plate in her hand a ways back, and it's just been one of those things that since her hand was down, we had to get it back and keep her from getting injured again. So kind of relearning how to throw punches, and there's a lot of stuff, that we've been working on, but definitely a lot of kicks.
Did you feel like she was hesitant early in the camp because she had, all the, the knee injury and then the hand injury? Did you feel like you had to sort of ease her back into it?
Oh yeah, and do it right, because everybody has a tendency to, let's go get it, and then they do it again, they end up busting it again. So
sure.
There you go. She busted her hand twice, but she's got a plate put in her now, and I feel good about the future.
So any injuries coming out of this fight?
Oh, no. I think she did get hit once kind of after she hammered Paige with a good right hand that she stepped down into, but then she kind of threw it a little bit off balance, and Paige touched her. But, I mean, I'm talking about just touched her. I think it was pretty much a dominant performance that, everything we'd worked on and everything the coaches worked on, the guys we had that worked with her in the corner were just brilliant. Every single thing they did, it's amazing to watch it. It was like scripted.
Yeah.
And Michelle did everything. She's a genius in there.
And so, in your opinion, like now, you win on such a big stage in such dominant, impressive fashion. People are like, oh, put her in the title picture, get her a big fight. What would you like for her next?
I like to. She'll do whatever. She'll do whatever the UFC wants, no doubt about it. I think she's very highly marketable.
Yep.
I think she's one fight out for my title shot. I really do.
Okay, I agree.
I think she's right there, one fight and then get a title shot. Again, it's just working on things constantly. She would fight for the title if they offered it to her. So whatever they want to do. But I think that's where she's at right now, and I think that's what the UFC will probably do with her.
Okay, now what a great segue this is. Speaking of title fights, Holly Holm, your prize pupil, is fighting on February 11th here in New York, in Brooklyn, not too far from this studio, against Germaine de Randamie for the new women's featherweight title. Now, she has been in the news over the last few weeks, so I wanted to have you on to help us clear this up a little bit. They said that they offered Cyborg to Holly and that you guys said yes, but at a certain weight, and then Cyborg said no. Is that what happened? Is that how this all went down?
Oh yeah. That's exactly what happened. Is Cyborg can't make the normal 135-pound division,
right?
And so because she gets to play by special rules, we said, okay, look, we're willing to fight you for 38. That was our first offer. I won't lie, I probably would have went to 39 with it, but it didn't make sense with Holly where her weight was at to offer to fight her at a higher weight. Of course not. Why would I do that? Apparently she turned that down. And then Dana came up with a 145-pound title, and apparently I think Dana offered it to Cyborg before we'd even been accepted that it was for a title, and I think she had turned it down as well. So that's all I know about it, other than Holly's never turned down a fight in her life. She's willing to fight, no doubt about it, even out of her weight division. And how could you turn this one down, a title fight at 145? It puts her right back where she wants to go, mentally. And when she has to step up, that's her best performance.
So would you guys have agreed to fight Cyborg at 145 for the new belt?
Yes.
And why do you think that didn't, like, if Cyborg, you would agree, I mean, Cyborg is the most famous 145-pound female in the world because she's one of the few that actually fights at 145. Holly now is an active 135er. Why do you think that they're doing a title fight, between Holly and someone else, Germaine, and not waiting a few more weeks for Cyborg, who said that she would be ready in March? Do you feel like that's a little strange?
Know. It's not for me to know why. I think Cyborg needs more time to get down on weight, but I guess, people are saying that she's out there powerlifting, so she has no worry about it. She's gonna do what she wants, and that's her weight division, apparently 145. Like I said, the smart move is Holly was at 135, and fighting her at 135 would have been the smart move, no doubt. And 136 would have been a smart move, but that's where we're at. So let's get this title, and the Cyborg, if she wants to be in line, great. If Nunes or Rousey are there and Holly wants to drop back down, great. I want to put Holly in a position that she has to really work hard, and I love it when she's the underdog. In many ways, I think in this fight she's not the underdog. Yeah. But when she has to step up that kind of pressure on her, she performs real well, and it'll put her just in a better place overall for her career.
Do you like the idea of Holly fighting at 145 for her career now?
Yes and no. The cuts have never been easy. Yeah. Holly's very, very is a good size for 136. So, yes and no, but she's right in between. I mean, 140-pound division would probably be a great place for Holly Holm. Okay. But and she's getting older. She's getting older, so the cuts get a little bit harder on her body. But you know what? Holly can fight either division.
Were you surprised when they offered you guys a 45 title fight? Like, did you think that was even something that was, on the table for the UFC?
Very surprised that they'd offer without a Cyborg involved.
Yeah. Okay, so you agree with me?
Oh, yeah. But it makes sense now that if Cyborg wasn't going to, they need to put some fights together. I think, and Holly is a big draw. She can sell, and they need some big fights. Sure. And they need them now. They can't wait down the road until Cyborg, gets her weight down or whatever the case is. So that's just the way it played out.
Now, Holly wins on February 11th. Are you open to fighting Cyborg in that first title defense? Because it seemed like when she was asked about it late last week, Holly, she wasn't so keen on taking that fight, period.
I don't know. It's all about, at that point in time, it's all about money, pay-per-view points, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
She has the title, and if I'll tell you what, if Nunes beats Rousey, I think Holly would like to go back down there and fight Nunes as well.
Okay.
If Cyborg's a bigger money fight, that'd be the fight. There's no doubt about it. If Ronda wins the fight, I think that becomes one of the biggest fights the UFC's ever seen, and that would be the smart fight for everybody to take. I think Dana would agree on that.
Do you think if Ronda wins on December 30th and Holly wins on February 11th that they should meet at a 140 catchweight because now we have two champions in two different weight classes, or would you want Holly to go to 135 again?
That one wouldn't even matter to me.
Okay.
Get the fight.
You just want the fight.
That would. Yeah, I would just want the fight, and I think it'd be one of the biggest fights of all time. So I don't dislike Nunes by any means, but as far as who I want to win the fight, I won't lie. I want Ronda to win the fight because I think it sets that up.
Sure.
And that would be brilliant for the UFC.
Now, based on what you see from a style standpoint and also the way you know fighters and what Ronda is sort of saying and how she's carrying herself, do you like her chances in this fight?
It depends which Ronda shows up. Like I said, I really haven't paid attention to how her camp's going and what kind of shape she's in. You hear these things, but it's all one-sided.
Sure.
They're pushing Ronda so well.
Yeah.
But I think it's just like anything having to do with Nunes. It's that young lady hits hard, and Ronda, if she doesn't have the fear of getting hit again hard, and she gets past that first round, I said we have a hell of a fight, no doubt about it. But she's got to. I think she's got to get to that first round mentally and find out what's happening.
It's amazing how this sport goes, as you know, because exactly this time last year, we're celebrating Holly, Fighter of the Year, Knockout of the Year, Upset of the Year, all this stuff. And as you know, 2016 hasn't been a very memorable one for her with, the two slip-ups. How would you describe, her mindset these days? Do you feel like you need to get back? Was there something missing this year? Do you feel like you have to work on her mentally? What went wrong after such an amazing 2015 campaign?
I think there was a lack of concentration for just a second. We should just keeps coming. I mean, she's just gifted that young lady can just go. So that was just, we were I thought after the first round we were dominating the fight, and we were winning the fight in the last round too. And we got caught clean and tall, and then a little bit of panic, a little bit of inexperience, but it was close. I think her next fight with Shevchenko is on me for letting her take the fight, because behind the scenes there was a lot of stuff going on, and I thought we could put it in a box, not worry about it mentally. But that wasn't the Holly Holm that I've always known, but she'll be back.
Oh, can you tell us what was going on? Shed a little light.
Absolutely not.
Worth a try, right?
Yeah, it's worth a try.
But were you concerned going into the fight, knowing that this stuff was going on? Like you were regretting the decision?
Second guessing myself.
Yeah.
So no doubt about it, and yep, that's it. But she'll be back. Like I said, she's a competitor, and she steps up.
Do you think she came back too soon after the Tate fight?
It's easy now looking back and so I guess we shouldn't have taken that fight. Of course, I don't think that had anything to do with time frame. It had to do with just outside things that were involved with her, the gym, just things.
Okay, and also, I have to ask you about Jon Jones. How do you feel about working with Jon now? I mean, because one thing that I've said is that I feel like you and Greg have such great reputations in this sport and are so respected, especially in your local community. And let's be honest, it hasn't been a great run for him outside of the gym. Is there a point where you have to say, like, is the juice worth the squeeze here?
Well, it's tough. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of disappointing times that Jon's had in the past. And that in some ways we're all kind of responsible for, because maybe we haven't given the proper guidance. But, this last one really was just doing childish things. He wasn't cheating. He wasn't doing anything that way. I don't know what the media did to propel it as such, but, he's just, not being smart enough. And I think they threw him under the bus because of his past problems. They're looking at him saying, hey, you should have seen you should ask if this drug could possibly be tainted with anything. I don't know. That's kind of a slippery slope. Now people are like, okay, so you didn't ask about anything you eat and digest. I know it's on them, but it's kind of a crazy thing how these guys are tested. And I think now they know that they're held accountable, and somebody's got to be overseeing every single thing they put in their bodies.
Yeah. Is he at the gym these days?
Oh yeah, he's been coming in. He comes in the gym, especially for the grappling aspect.
Yeah.
Because the grappling tournaments that with Henderson, and preparing for the next ones. But we're easing our way back into the stand-up stuff as well, and trying to develop his game so when he comes back, he's better than ever.
And just curious, because you said, maybe we look back at ourselves and we didn't guide him the right way. Do you take that, do you put that on yourself? I mean, it's a tough thing to do because you have so many fighters. You can't be their dads, even though sometimes I would imagine you have closer relationship with others. But do you blame yourself for some of his misfortunes? Sometimes a little bit. I think that, I probably should yell at him even more often, that type of thing. It's mostly, he's made his own bed. There's no doubt about it. But hopefully we just keep talking to him, and I think he's turned the corner. He knows, and I think he's driven to better himself and get back into what's important in life, and not just having fun. Will you be tougher with him, like for this next fight when he comes back in the summertime? Do you think that you will change the way you work with him?
It'll probably be close to the same because I've always tried to be the tougher with him. It's just, like I've always said, no one beats John Jones but himself. So it won't change a lot, but I'll probably be a little tougher with him, yes.
Last thing, would you like to see him get an immediate title shot upon returning, or do you want to ease him back into it?
Oh, I think he's ready for an immediate title shot when he returns. There's no doubt. John is, I think, the pound for pound the best in the sport.
Okay. Mike, we appreciate it. Congratulations on Saturday. I love how always so blunt and honest you are. So that's very much appreciated. And, of course, good luck to you and Holly and the rest of the team in 2017. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right. There he is, Coach Mike Winkeljohn. Always great to talk to him. Always very direct with his answers. There's no beating around the bush there, and no different this time. The way the whole Chris Cyborg situation is going to play out is a fascinating one. As you heard it from the coach himself, it's amazing to think that they're finally bringing in this title without Chris Cyborg. And I get that they need to fill dates and slots and shows, and they need pay-per-view headliners. But after all this time and the cutting down to 140, to do it without Chris is mind-blowing. And I still don't feel like it's a foregone conclusion that if Holly Holm wins, that she's going to fight Chris Cyborg next. Does Chris Cyborg get boxed out of this situation? Also mind-blowing. But it's never a dull moment when it comes to Chris Cyborg and the UFC, and this just the latest example of that. We'll talk a little more about that whole situation later on in the show. Okay, all week long, even before Sacramento's show on Saturday night, before the Fox show on Saturday night, I was getting, I've talked about this in the past, especially when it comes to the international fans. I get fans who are like, can you please have Conor McGregor on? Can you please have Paddy Pimblett on? This time it was a little different. It was reminiscent, but it was more like demands. It was less request. It was more demand. It was you better have Paul Craig on. If you don't have Paul Craig on, you're an idiot. What time is Paul Craig on? Even before the fight on Saturday. That's what I was getting from the Scottish fans. They are a forceful bunch, so I was not going to mess around. And especially after the big win on Saturday, Paul Craig winning in his UFC debut, a fantastic performance, second-round submission. I had to have him on. So now here he is, Paul Craig, joining us via the magic of Skype. And he is kind enough to join us because he just got off a plane, a long journey home from Sacramento back to Scotland. So I appreciate it very much. Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for joining us. And especially, like I said, after the long trip. Did you know you had such loyal fans? I mean, and again, maybe not the most polite bunch, but boy, oh boy, do they want to hear from you.
Yeah, you've dealt with Scottish in the past. You know we don't mess about. Straight to the point. That's I felt some amount of love for Scotland. For the last... I started this adventure 4.5 years ago. Just fell into it, and... the people who have supported me from the start have been loyal. It's been a great experience, and I've seen all the tweets. And you did take your time, man. You did take your time. But thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Well, you weren't following me, and also you're not verified on Twitter, so I didn't know if it was you. How can a guy fighting the UFC not be verified? I mean, we need to up your social media game.
I don't even know, man. I don't even know. I'm just a normal guy, man. I'm too busy having to work, spend time with my family. I don't have time for Twitter, but I do post loads of stuff on Twitter, and I do post loads of stuff on social media. So if you're there and you're out there and you want to see me messing about, man, then go on and follow me on any social media platforms.
Okay, so this is what I'm interested in, because obviously every fighter competing now in mixed martial arts, I would think, aspires to be in the UFC. That's the major leagues. But you have said in multiple interviews that I've seen, you don't watch MMA. You're not an MMA fan. You don't watch the fights. So what did it mean to you to fight in the UFC? Did this feel special?
I still know how special the UFC is. It's the best. And when I set myself goals of where I wanted to fight, I knew there was other promotions out there. But for me, why would I want to compete in the second or the third best in the world of MMA when I want to be at the top? Always trying to push myself. So I know how special it is. You're right, I don't watch MMA. I didn't follow you. I seen somebody tweeting that saying, this is quite funny that I don't follow like one of the biggest MMA media
That's fine.
out there. And when my coach had said to me, that's Taravani, I was like, I don't know who he is, man. I insult you or anything, man, but I'm just not down with the kids. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so why don't you watch MMA? I mean, this is your line of work. I'm assuming you enjoy fighting because you do it on a daily basis. That's your career. Do you not enjoy watching other people fight?
It's not that I don't enjoy them. I just get bored watching them.
Okay.
I love getting into train. Any time I've got, I'm in there training. But any spare time after that, it's family time, man. I've got 2 young daughters, 10 and 2 there, and I need to spend time with them. So can you imagine trying to juggle all this kind of stuff as well as holding down a full-time job?
Sure.
It takes its toll, man. So when it comes to that, I would rather spend that time with my daughters.
When's the last time you sat down and watched an MMA fight?
I did watch a Conor McGregor fight.
Okay.
But that was in between playing poker with my friends, and I didn't really know him. I was quite impressed by Jacare. He was a bit of an animal, and I loved his Tony Montana impression, even though I know it's not an impression. That was really him. I love you, Michael. Please be. That's hilarious.
Oh, you mean Yoel Romero, not Jacare?
Oh, Yoel Romero. Did I say? Gee, man, I don't know.
You mentioned you have a full-time job. You work with children, right?
I do, yes. I work for an educational charity. I've been doing that for about 6.5 years now. No 2 days are the same, and I like it that way. Working with young adults, working with teenagers is fantastic. It's a great, rewarding job, and I know it sounds cheesy, and I probably come across with all these cheesy lines, but man, I wake up on Monday morning happy to go to work. And people are asking me, well, you won the bonus, but there's my daughter coming down. She's maybe in bed, but she's coming down. Going, hello. Look, she just was it going? You beat it.
What's her name?
Her name's Mel. So she was up getting ready for bed, and now she's going to go and watch The Simpsons. So mother-daughter, she just went away to bed as well. So what was I saying? I was saying something about
working with the kids.
So I enjoy it, and they're asking me about packing that in. I've got no interest in packing that in at all, man. I love it. Money isn't everything. Like, you can have all the money in the world and be as unhappy as possible. So I'm happy in my sort of life where family, training and work, it's a good balance.
These kids know that you're a fighter?
They do. It's very hard to hide to the fact that I'm a fighter. All it takes is one of them to find out, and it just spread. Yeah. So I did originally try and hide it. Can you hear okay? Because she's watching The Simpsons. Give me a second.
Okay. The kids got to watch their Simpsons. I didn't know that The Simpsons were so popular in Scotland.
That's what I feel. That's moral fibre, man. That's where they learn. That's right. Life's little growth. So, what were you saying again?
If the kids that you work with know that you're a fighter, and I was wondering if they stayed up to watch you make your UFC debut as well.
Yeah, I know that there was a lot of people watch my fight. I got a message from one of the teachers I work with. He actually messaged me saying, "I'll let my sixth form group watch your fight today," which is pretty cool, man. You know, you're in school and you're getting to watch me, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, they all know I fight. They all love it. They know how big the UFC is, because obviously UFC is getting bigger and bigger, and especially MMA in our country is getting a lot bigger as well. And I believe that I can make it even bigger. What you're going to see a better UFC Scotland crowd.
Yes, I mean, I know the first one was fantastic. It was the crowd of the year, in my opinion, last year. You said you have a daughter who's 10 and another who's 2, so the 2-year-old probably a little young, but the 10-year-old, what does she think of her dad doing this for a living?
She loves me.
Okay.
She's at that age where I'm a superhero currently, so you know that age where they think you're cool.
Yeah.
Because again, comes to where they think, oh man, I don't like my dad. He's sending me upstairs. I'm not allowed to go out like this. I'm not allowed to do that. Hey, it happens. But right now she thinks I'm cool, and no matter what I do is the greatest thing ever. I come home and so we get posters given to us after our weigh-in, and she's like, Dad, can I take this into school? Dad, can I take this into school? So she's away into school tomorrow with all this kit of mine just to show off to her friends and just pass on her love for me. It's cool.
That is amazing. When you dreamed of this debut, when you were preparing, did it go down like this? I mean, was this flawless in your opinion? I mean, what a great performance! The submission. You came out, you got the finish. People are talking about you. You're the featured fight on the prelims. Was this how you predicted it?
I don't even know, man. I thought about this fight. It was a really good matchup for us. We had a 12-0 opponent against me. I love being underdog. I've said this quote before, man. I love being the Rocky. The guy who has to fight to get to where he's going. I like that kind of. I grew up watching all these 80s films. I did see myself winning, and me and my team all believed that we would do it, and we would do it in a spectacular fashion. But I didn't expect it to be such a dominant performance, and it might come across as being really cocky, but I watched it back and I was more worried about having that big bald spot shown at the back. That's why I'm wearing this cap, man. A bald spot. Somebody should tell me. I went on the TV with this bald spot, so man, next time you see me, I'm going to be rocking the Arwani haircut, man, because this is not happening, man.
But you got a sweet beard, by the way.
I know, it's good, man. Everybody quite likes it.
Yeah.
It's when he punch, it's all just hair.
That's right.
Coach Marcos actually grabs it when he's in grabbing the gi, and it's like the sorest thing ever.
Now, one of the main questions that I want to ask you, and I've heard people ask you about this, but I'm not going to take no for an answer, because even people have emailed me and tweeted me about this. You're wearing the T-shirt, Bear Jew. There it is. Okay, now here's the first question. Are you Jewish?
Well, listen, there's 2 things you don't talk about. In fact, there's 3 things. 1, you don't talk about money. 2, you don't talk about politics. And 3, you don't talk about religion.
Wait,
I'm from an area in the west of Scotland where you're predominantly Catholic or Protestant.
Okay.
And you've probably seen it yourself on my Twitter. You're either Rangers or you're either Celtic.
Sure.
And I am neither of the 2. So I am the guy that will go right down the middle.
Oh.
But it is there's a small bit that's to do with the film, but there's also another bit that's in our gym, and it's amongst all my friends and all my training partners, and it's like, for us, your nickname is given to you in the gym. It's not given to you by someone outside. It's given to you in the gym, and that's where this comes from. And it's sort of going to die ways, I think. But everybody wants to know.
Yes.
That's a wee bit. You say that Scottish, mysterious guy. You see him with his bear Jew and his big bushy beard and his bald spot.
Yes.
That's American.
It's not bad, by the way, but you actually look a little bit Jewish, like with the beard, the dark hair.
I didn't say I wasn't.
I know.
I didn't say I was.
Well, I am Jewish, so I was like, I got people writing me like, "Is this our because back in the day in the early 1900s." What's that?
Say, is he your savior? Is this what you're saying?
Well, no, but in the early 1900s, the greatest fighters were all Jewish.
Mm-hmm. That's
so
true.
we think that, some people are excited. They're like, this is the reincarnation of those fighters coming out of Scotland, of all places. People are very excited. So I'm just here to get the answers. Okay, so you don't want to tell us if you're Jewish or not. Why?
Sorry, I missed that. I can't hear you. It's breaking up. I'm kidding. No. That's it.
So who made these shirts?
I've got a graphic designer. His name's Liam Rafferty. He's Hellcat Graphics. He came up with a wee sign, which is basically just my face. But he's made it look as one of t-shirts, and that's how we generate some money, man. Because we don't have a lot of sponsorship. I know in America it's a lot easier to get sponsorship, but in the UK it's a lot harder to get sponsorship. So this is one way that I kind of generate some money so that I can train and perform at the best.
So where can people get the shirts?
Drop me an email, man, and I'll send you them out. See, the thing is, predominantly, I maybe get maybe about 70 of them, maybe sell half of them, and the rest of them I just give them all away, man. So one's coming your way, my friend.
Well, that would be awesome. But you should get a website, because I feel like a lot of people want to get this stuff. Bearjew.com, Paul Craig, something. Come on, we gotta market ourselves better here.
I know that. I'm just, as I said, I'm just this normal guy, man. my friends manage me. I'm living the dream.
Yeah.
Like I'm the guy that decided to take this up 4.5 years ago. It's a bit of fun, and now I'm fighting in the UFC, and people can't understand me.
Well, that is true, but I'm getting the hang of it. Talking to Joanne Calderwood and Stevie Ray, Robert Whiteford as well, has a very thick accent. So what I read was you originally were a footballer, right? And then you kind of just fell into this martial arts stuff. How good of a player were you?
Not the best.
Okay.
I grew really quickly. At one point, I wasn't very tall, and then within about, I want to say, a year, I just shot up. I remember having a girlfriend in high school, and she was taller than me. I wasn't the tallest of guys, and all of a sudden I just shot up. Then moved on from playing football to coaching football. I used to love football. Used to love going to watch it, or soccer as you call it.
Yeah.
I used to love, but I kind of consumed myself in MMA, and I don't have time for it now. I had a brief spell of playing rugby as well with Lanark Rugby Club, who are a good bunch of guys, and you know that whole sort of camaraderie thing's beautiful. But right now, everything's I'm deep in MMA. I love it. I love the guys and my team, and I just love training. Every day's like I want to learn. That's what strives me to be better. Like we were told this guy was a better striker than us. We were told he was a kickboxing champion in Brazil.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's true. We were told he was a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. Yeah, again, we don't know if this is true. And our whole thing was we're going to beat him at his game. And pretty happy with my performance. I mean, there's areas where we're going to work, but we are definitely not the finished product, and we can go a long way within UFC.
I saw a picture on your social media. It was you, I believe you were in Africa working with children like 4 or so years ago. What were you doing there?
I took a group of kids out to... originally what happened was, through my current job, we have a royal patron who is Prince William, Duke of Cambridge. And I did loads of community work with this group, and he was impressed with the work that they did, and he gave them a grant to go out and do whatever they wanted with it. I sat down with the 11 kids, and we agreed that we would go to Africa and actually put this money to use, as well as giving these kids the experience of knowing what it's like living in Uganda. That was an eye-opener for myself, as well as some of the kids. You know, when you're taking out kids who are between 15 and 17, and like, that is a big step for some of these kids. Some of these kids hadn't been out of the country, never mind been to Africa. So it was a big experience for some of them, and some of them emotionally broke down. Once I came back, I fell sick. I caught dengue fever.
Oh, wow.
And because we were out there for a fair bit, and when I come back, I didn't have time to be ill when I was with these young adults. But when I was out there, when I come home, I managed to unwind and was off work for like 3 weeks, sick as a pig. But we went out there. We helped build a cookhouse for the local community. We built a water tower. We planted some trees so that like each of the students got to plant a tree there. And it was just a great experience. Like my life is some sort of fairy tale, and I know that. I've got a lovely family, a really good job, pretty good at MMA, and what else can I ask for in life? And I'm living.
And very happy for you. If you continue to progress as you are expecting to in the UFC, will you ever, put the job aside and focus on MMA full time?
I don't think that'd be very fair. And I don't like to come across as being smug or anything like that, but if I can change one young adult's life, man, I'm doing a good job, and that's what I want to do. I want to change as many young lives as I can, steer them on a path that what they want to do, and so they get to their dreams. I got my dream. They deserve to get their dream, and I believe that if I just step back because I've sort of made a bit of money, then my life's not really complete. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I respect you greatly for saying that. Speaking of first-time trips, that was your first time in the United States, right? What did you think of the US of A?
I'm sitting with my California.
There you are. Look at you. Yeah, you were at a Kings game, right, against my beloved Knicks. The Knicks beat the Kings that night. How about that?
It was close. It was close.
It was a close game.
I have to be a Kings fan. it was a great experience. I've never experienced basketball. I mean, I've watched in the TV.
Sure.
And as I say, the west of Scotland, where it's Rangers or Celtic, that's everybody always wants to know. And it's the divided Catholic and Protestants, and they don't sit in the same area. So you won't have fans mixing. And this was a great experience to go to a basketball match and see a Lakers fan sitting in front of us.
Yeah.
And seeing a Knicks fan in front of us, and then seeing a Kings fan next to me, season ticket holders to this side to me. It was a great experience to go and watch that, and the full show was amazing. Like, yours is football, half time, you go and grab a pie, out and play football, whereas this was an actual show. It was great.
So overall, you enjoyed your first trip to the U.S. You like the people. They seem to like you as well over there in Sacramento.
Yeah, the people I met, they were really nice. Like, everybody I met just wanted to speak to me and ask me, why is a Scottish guy on the West Coast? And they loved my story, and they were like, "That's awesome, man! You're fighting the UFC, you're fighting in our hometown." Went and trained at Uriah's gym, and the guys even in there are they're the friendliest guys you ever meet. And do you know who I absolutely love? Perry.
Oh, Mike Perry.
Perry.
Yeah.
He is the cool guy in the world.
Wow.
It was his idea with the whole Braveheart thing. He was like, "Man, like, you shut the door, please." He was like, "Man, see, if I was Scottish, I had to do my face up like Braveheart, and I'd come out and I was like, freedom." So it was his idea. Mike Perry is the man.
Wow.
He is the man.
So you've never done that before for the weigh-ins? Painted your face with the flag?
No, it was a one-off. Just because it felt right when Mike Perry said it. Me and my coach Brian looked at each other and went, "Man, that'd be badass." We never thought about doing it before.
Will you do it again?
We went to Mac. Oh, for sure, man.
You should.
Maybe I'll go bigger. Maybe I'll go bigger and better next time. But we went to Mac, the makeup shop.
Yeah.
And we and get our face painted like properly, because we didn't know where to get it done, because we don't know the area.
Sure.
That was where we went.
So one of the ladies there did it for you?
One of the ladies there done it for me. Mascara up here, blue mascara. It was a nightmare to get off. I went to paint my face, and it took me about an hour and a half to get it off my face.
Wow.
And I looked like a smurf. Yeah. And I was still pulling like blue out my ear and out my nose.
It was worth it though.
Oh, for sure.
Totally.
That was like stepping out on these scales, looking like a Scottish warrior. That stuff's priceless.
Yeah.
And it'll get me remembered within the UFC, and my performance backed it up.
Sure. And now here's the big thing. As we've talked about on this show, 205, very shallow. They're very much in need of new faces, up-and-coming stars. They got one, I think, in Misha Serkinov last week in Toronto, and I think they have one in you. So considering that there's a lot of like the same old guys who have fought each other at the top, you know, how quickly do you want to be pushed? How fast do you want to get to the top?
Well, I come out of that fight unscathed. My diet's always healthy anyway. I train for fun. I don't train for the purpose of doing a fight camp. I don't have a fight camp and just train for that. I train all the time. So I'm always ready. So if the UFC came out to me and said, "Paul, listen, January, I know it's Christmas, any chance you can fill in?" Man, I would be there.
Okay.
In fact, did Daniel Cormier not get injured? I'll take that. I'll take any space.
You're ready for those guys. You're ready for those guys at the top.
Oh, like, no man is unbeatable. There's no man in this earth that is unbeatable. If you've got the right team round about you, and you've got the right determination, and you want it as bad as I want to be something, then you'll go for it. And that's one of the things I want for this sport. I don't want fame, money. I don't want to come home to a big fancy house. I want to come home to my family. But I want to be remembered for something. That's all I want. A legacy. People to look back and be like, "Oh, remember Paul Craig when he fought MMA?" That for me is enough.
Wow.
And I was a BAMA champion, and I honestly believe, and there'll be people out there saying, no way, man, after that performance there's no way you'd be a champion. But hey, man, I've got time. I'm training every day. I'm going to just get better.
Wow. That gave me goosebumps. Well done, Paul. Congratulations to you. Very happy for you. Happy holidays to you and the family. And it was great to have you on. I'm happy that your loyal fans demanded that you be on the show and that you were able to squeeze us in after flying home. So, again, thank you so much. All the best, and I look forward to your next fight.
Thank you very much for having me on, man. I really appreciate it, dude.
Okay, but really, Bear Jew, tell us the story. Come on.
I'll maybe tell you offline.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, Paul. We'll talk to you soon.
Man. Speak to you soon.
Wow, what a great story there. Paul Craig, remember the name, just what the doctor ordered for that 205-pound division. They need some new blood. They got some in Paul Craig. Bear Jew, still haven't gotten the answer. We'll get it at some point. I'm very confident of that. Okay, let's move along. One of the big stories last week, ton of fights announced. Holly Holm we talked about, a bunch of others. One of the interesting ones, Jorge Masvidal versus Donald Cerrone. That's happening UFC on Fox January 28th in Denver, Colorado. Mr. Masvidal joins us right now on the phone. Jorge, how are you?
What's up, my brother? I'm chilling. I'm good.
It's good to have you on. It has been a minute. There's a lot to talk to you about. First, let's start with this. Why did you want the Cerrone fight so bad? I mean, you usually don't campaign this much for a fight. Why did you want this one?
I just wanted to give out a little bit of vengeance. You know, he took gas in him from me. So from the start, that was mainly the fire that was lit under my ass. I wanted to get my hands on him, and one better way to do it than getting paid for it, you know? So I was like, fuck it, let me just call this dude out, and he took my opponent anyways. And then if they give him to me, I get to bust him up and get my revenge back.
So it all started there. For those that don't know, November 5th, you were supposed to fight Kelvin Gastelum. Cerrone was supposed to fight November 12th against Robbie Lawler. Lawler pulls out. They take Gastelum from you to fight Cerrone. Gastelum never makes it to the fight, and you're kind of like, what the heck? You could have asked me. That's where it started? Nothing before that?
That's always. Before that, I didn't care for the dude. I didn't like or dislike him. It was just another dude in the UFC to me, you know?
Right.
But after that, we had the same situation with the Bobby Green thing, but it kind of went over my head. I was like, oh, whatever, man, you know, fucking, because it did the same exact thing with when I was signed ready to fight Bobby Green. He signed the agreement. I signed the agreement. There was even the posters, Masvidal versus Green. Then Eddie Alvarez gets held up in Bellator. So they say, you know, if Eddie doesn't come, we're going to put Bobby Green in against Cowboy. I ended up fighting James Krause. I think it was, yeah, James Krause. And Cowboy ended up fighting Eddie Alvarez. But for some reason, they didn't give me Bobby Green back. So he was ranked at the time. I just ended up fighting James Krause, you know. That was time number 2 he did it. So now it's like, man, somebody's got to pay for all this.
I got the impression that you were feeling disrespected, that they just took your opponent away, and you know they kind of left you with nothing there for a second. Are you feeling the love now that they gave you Cerrone? Are you feeling more love from the UFC?
No, I still got my 2 opponents taken away. I mean, I went out there, fought Jake, and called out Cowboy, and I'm ready to fight Cowboy right now. Nobody else, no other top fighter is ready to fight Cowboy in however long the time is. I'm ready to bust his ass right now. You know, so I feel like I'm glad the UFC gave me the chance, but I put myself in, you know. I made myself available. I ended the fight quick. Now I'm ready to go again. Ready right now. I'm in training right now.
Do you feel like if you didn't go so hard at him, if you weren't so aggressive in your campaign to get Cerrone, that they wouldn't have given you him, that they would have given it to someone else?
Possibly.
What's that?
Possibly, I said.
Oh, okay.
I don't know 100% what they would have done, but I don't think if I wouldn't have been out there trying to get this fight, that I would have got this fight, you know?
What did you make of his performance against Matt Brown?
You want me to from like a fan or from like another fighter judging another fighter?
Yeah, from another fighter judging another fighter.
He looked tense. He looked timid at first, and from what I saw from him, he was a little bit intimidated, I think, from Matt Brown. You know, it wasn't until him and Matt Brown hugged it up that Cowboy started loosening up, and then boom, ended it right away. You know,
Wow.
Cowboy's in that like, hey, we're in the friend zone thing. His mind works different, I guess. I don't know. So till then, I saw him. From what I saw with my own eyes, he looked tense. You know. Do
you think that he's going to try to do the same to you?
I don't know what he's going to do. I don't give a fuck either. I'm going to bust him right in the fucking mouth. You're going to find out real quick. It's a fight.
Okay.
Not a spoiler.
So now let's talk about your last fight, a bizarre one. I mean, you were looking so good in the fight, and then just a weird thing. I've never seen this before. Ellenberger.
Give me my props because you ain't never seen a toe bar in your life.
Wait, a guy getting his toe stuck in the cage?
That's all me. He threw a kick.
Yeah.
I kicked out the back leg from him because he was in the air. and it swept him into the cage. Did I mean to do the toe bar on him? No. I wanted him to just fall on his ass, and then we keep fighting, you know. But unfortunately, his foot got stuck in the cage.
Okay, so you feel like you're not getting the respect that you deserve because of this? Like, people are just chalking it up to a freak thing, but we should be actually giving you props for it.
Not that they should be giving me props for it, but he because I didn't mean to stick his toe in the fence. Hey, how you doing? I don't feel that I should get props for it, but he went for an action, and my action was to counter that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's real basic stand-up. If somebody's flying in the air with a flying knee or flying kick, you sweep out the bottom leg, and that's it, you know? That's just what it did.
Do you think that before that all happened, that was the best you looked in the UFC?
I don't know. I leave that up to the fans.
Okay. Did they try to convince you to have the immediate rematch with him because of the unique ending to the fight?
No, they never even brought up a rematch to me.
Oh, okay. And
they know what's up. Dana knows what's up. All these guys know what's up. The fight could have ended however it ended, but they seen the look on Jake's face. Jake don't want it. That's guaranteed. He didn't want it before. Now that he's seen me face to face in the real FaceTime, guaranteed no. That's a definite no. You could ask him.
Did a part of you feel a little unfulfilled because of because you were doing so well, and now people have something to talk about at the end, saying like, oh, if that didn't happen, he would have maybe come back and won the fight, as opposed to a clean finish, no questions asked.
Not really. I mean, everybody, it's a fight. Everybody can make up their own conclusions. The fans, you know. Now, what's weird is just like some of the media, some of the racist media that I hear sometimes that to that point they were saying the fight was back and forth.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I never got hit. I never got dropped. I never got taken down. I don't even think I took like a solid hit to the dome piece. You know, like I never got hit, and it's hard to find that footage of where the fight was back and forth. So I'm like, you can say whatever you want, but you can't say the fight was competitive, you know?
Well, wait, so you think that some of the media is racist?
Well, there's some. Do you think the fight was competitive?
No, I don't think at all. I mean, I thought that you were.
Well, why would they say that then? You know, and it's white reporters saying that, you know? So I think that it's either they don't like me or something, because that was just weird. One of the first questions I got answered when I got back to the press conference by one of these dudes was, the fight was pretty competitive at that point, going back and forth. What do you think would have happened if that didn't happen? I was like, yo, this dude has to be trolling me. He has to be joking, because I got dropped, right, or I got taken down. How does that even make sense, what you're asking, you know?
And you think that has something to do with your national?
It has something to do with something. It has something to do with something. I won't get into too much detail, but it has something to do with something. That was just like a weird ass, you know?
Yeah. Is this something that you have been feeling for a while, that the media is racist towards you?
Nah, I don't think they're racist, but there is racist individuals working in it. They would rather see their own kind shine, and I get that. You know, I'm a spick. I get proud when other Latin people are doing well, and I want them to do well. So I understand them. You know, that they want to see maybe their counterparts doing well as well. But don't speak blasphemy. Don't be tarnishing my name for the success of your peers, because that fight was not competitive. You know.
So to be clear, you have no interest in doing that fight again, right?
Of course I do. It's an easy paycheck. Same reason why I took it the first time. If they offer it to me again, I will go and train for it again and cash out on my money. It's going to be a guaranteed show and win money.
Sure. Okay, but for now, it's in the rearview mirror, and you're fighting Cerrone, and you're fighting him in Denver, which is where he wanted to fight, high elevation, all that stuff. Like, you got the fight. Is the location not ideal? Or are you not happy with having to fight him in his hometown, especially at high elevation?
I don't give it. To fight a princess like that, I knew I was going to have to fight him under some weird circumstances. I don't care. If he was from Mars, we would have been fighting in Mars. I don't give a fuck. Okay. I've been fighting in people's backyards my whole life. I don't give a fuck.
That's true, quite literally, right?
Quite literally.
Yeah. How early will you go to Denver to get acclimated?
We're gonna be going there shortly. We're taking the Cuban methodology of how to adapt to altitude, what they do for their Olympic team and their combat athletes. So we're going to take a different approach to the getting.
What is that?
Oh, I can't get into detail. My coaches will kill me. Remember, this is Cuban espionage type shit, bro.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, what is it secret?
It's not secret, but it's a different mythology in how the Americans prepare for it. Not saying that the American way is bad, but it's a different way the Cubans prepare for altitude when we take their national teams and
wow.
things like that.
This is fascinating. I never heard of this before.
Yeah, it's just it's a different science. It's a different train of thought for them, you know.
Have you ever done this before?
Very similar. For altitude, no. I've done it for other things, you know, like the way that we train, the way the way I'm supposed to peak and stuff. It's from the Cuban mythology, from my coaches back home. You know how they would do it to get their guys prepared. It's the same way we do it.
Wow. So he's number 5 in the UFC rankings. You beat him. What do you think will happen?
You know what's gonna happen. It's too late after that. They can't. You know, the UFC's best kept secret is out.
Meaning, like they'll have no choice but to show you the love.
They'll have no choice but just to surrender over these club members that they have, that they've been protecting, I feel, over to me. That's it, you know?
Wow.
And what happens has to happen.
So we're talking 2017, the year of the game bread, the year that you finally become champ?
The easy money campaign and make the UFC great again. Never forget.
It's fun. It's. I love the fact that you're taking a phrase from Mr. Donald Trump, the president-elect. Are you a fan of his?
Of our commander-in-chief? How could you not be?
Very well said. Very well said. Do you feel like the UFC doesn't, like, they would prefer if Cerrone wins?
I don't. Man, I'll plead the fifth. I don't really. I have an idea in my head who I think they would want to win, but I don't care. I'm gonna go in there and do what I want to do. You know.
Sure, but they gave you the fight. I mean, that's a start, right?
They gave me the fight, and I want to send a shout out to Ari real quick because he made this possible as well. You know, Ari stepped in there backstage and showed a lot of love. So I want to give a shout out to Ari for hooking it up. You know,
Ari Emanuel.
Yeah.
You're tight with him?
I'm cool with him. He's a good dude. You know, we had a little talk, and you know.
What? When did you talk?
Confidential.
Wow. I didn't know you had a direct line. I didn't know you had a direct line to the Prez. I mean, this is the mover and shaker now in the UFC.
Yeah, he's a cool ass dude, bro.
Wow. So so this is why you're getting the big fights now. All right. There's a new regime.
There's a new regime, and I like the new regime, man. They're getting a lot of heat. A lot of people talking bad about them. So far, for me, the new regime, I got Jake Ellenberger.
Yeah.
I got a Cowboy fight. I'm loving life, man. I'm loving the new regime.
And who came up with the Rice Cerrone? Was that all you?
Rice Cerrone, baby. You know that's me, man. Come on, who else is gonna bite that?
I don't know. It was great. I mean, you're very active on social media. Even after Gaslam pulled out, you tweeted a picture of yourself saying you were on your way to New York. Were you really on your way?
I was on my way to New York. I was at the airport already, ready to roll. I was in New York City. Once I got the word to no, I was eating, you know, chicken wings and Chinese rice and shit. But before that, I was all business. I was ready to go.
How much did you weigh at that time?
Thank you. When I woke up Friday morning and I heard the news, I got on the scale. Mm-hmm. I was 184. I could have made that weight in like 7 hours, 6 hours.
Okay.
Easy. No questions asked. Was making the weight, 171.
Did you guys call the UFC and ask for it for the New York card?
Oh, hell to the yeah. I mean, it's the biggest card of the
Sure.
year, you know. Of course I tried to get on that card. You know, we tried everything we could.
They didn't say yes, right? Obviously.
Say it again, you were breaking up there?
So they just said, no, it's not going to happen?
Well, because for medical reasons, they said it wasn't going to happen. You know, it was just going to be the New York State Athletic Commission was going to take at least a day to do what they were demanding. So there was no way it was going to happen.
Yeah. And plus, you had your own fight coming up, and maybe it wouldn't have been fair and somewhat ironic to Jake Ellenberger if they would have taken you off that card after you were mad.
No, I wouldn't. No, see, the thing that I was asking from the gate was, let me fight Cowboy, but no matter what happens, I'm still going to fight Jake Ellenberger because I'm a man. If I sign on that dotted line, I'm coming in on weight and I'm fighting.
Oh, wow. And now here we are. Do you still want that Gaslam fight? I mean, I know that he's at 185, but is that still something that you want?
No, man, I could care less for that dude. He had a number by his name at 170, and that's all I care about. care about him personally, physically. I care less about the dude. I don't wish him bad or good. I don't care for him. I just care about that number next to his name that makes me money and my kids money.
Okay. And just curious, to close up, I mean, right now it seems like the UFC wants to do Woodley Thompson, and Woodley is looking for that big fight, and who can blame him? What do you if you were in charge, I mean, if you're Ari Emanuel, would you do Woodley Thompson, or would you try to get like a Nick Diaz back who would jump over all you guys because he's been so inactive and put him in that big money fight?
If I was Ari, I don't know. That's a different perspective of thinking, you know. Those guys are thinking about putting on the best fight and the most money. So, how was the Thompson and Woodley fight? Did that fight itself do well? As far as numbers go?
I mean, it was on 205, so, you know, it's kind of hard to gauge. But, I mean, that was a big show because of Conor.
Well, as long as people are demanding that fight, you have to give it to them, you know. Because people saw the fight. If they like it, then there's no choice. You got to give it to them.
Did you like it?
Not, right? It was competitive. It was a draw.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. A moment, it was a little lackluster. But then at other moments, it was super, super high pace, you know?
Sure. Do you mind?
Sometimes, say it again?
No, go ahead. Sorry for interrupting.
No, sometimes I felt like Thompson was just like kind of stalling, not really engaging, just like doing like air punches and kicks. And Woodley was trying to counter him and hurt him, you know?
Yeah.
So at those moments, it produced like some dead time.
Do you mind if I ask you about the passing of Fidel Castro?
Yeah, go ahead.
What are your thoughts when you heard that he passed? What did you think?
That guy's a tyrant. I know personally for the Americans that are just like, oh, Fidel, Che Guevara, they're fucking awesome. You don't know anything, you know? Don't read some quotes and poems that they might have written that they didn't even write, that somebody wrote for them, and think that they're good people. These people were killers. They were tyrants. They were murderers. And I know this firsthand. My family had land. My family had goats. And everything got taken away from them. People in my family got killed. Cold-blooded. By friends of their own, by people that they grew up with that ended up switching parties and found out that they were still part of the other party and they ended up getting killed. So I know personally that there was no hero, no great political figure.
So you were happy to hear the news?
We think he's been dead for years, man. I mean, I might have Cuban CIA show up to my house now and be like, yo, why are you saying all this craziness? But we think he's been dead for years. This is just some I don't know.
Huh.
Something crazy.
Have you been back?
Say it again?
Have you been back to Cuba?
No.
Do you or your family want to go back?
Yeah, no. You know, it's like a mixed situation over there. We don't want to help out the Cuban government in any way.
Okay.
But at the same time, we want to help out our family. That's what we try to help out our family.
You still have family there?
Yeah, plenty of family.
Okay. All right. Well, I wish him the best. I wish you the best. Good to catch up with you, Jorge. Congrats on getting the fight. Well done on calling your shot and getting what you wanted. Looking forward to it on January 28th.
Thank you, Ariel.
All right. Always a pleasure. Jorge Masvidal, game-bred fighter, one of a kind. Fighting Don Cerrone January 28th in Denver, Colorado on Fox. Okay, UFC was back on Fox on Saturday. Great fights. One of the highlights as far as non-fight action is concerned. This side-by-side interview, if you will, between Dominic Cruz and Cody Garbrandt. They are finally going to fight on December 30th, co-main event UFC 207. We are very happy to be joined by Mr. Cody Garbrandt, Mr. No Love himself, on the phone right now. Cody, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Ariel? Thanks for having me as always.
Yes, it is a pleasure as always. Busy day for you, right? You're doing all kinds of media in Los Angeles?
Yeah, we're just got done with some LA Times or LA's newspaper. Calling in Jim Norton, Matt Serra. I just got off the phone with them and talking to the man now, the man of the hour.
Yes. Well, I'm happy that you still have time for us little people here in New York.
Oh, come on.
Okay, so we have a lot to discuss. Let's get into it. Looking back on that exchange on Saturday, because everyone's talking about it, were you happy with the way it played out? Did you go back and watch and say, oh, man, I shouldn't have said this. I wish I didn't do that. What did you think about it overall?
No, you know what? That's me. I'm not. That's me. Raw as it comes. I'm going to say what I want to say in there. He wants to act fake, and just because of the camera, that's who he is. If the cameras are off him, he's a different person. 100%. He's the one that puts on the front, acts tough in front of the camera, and he's good. I mean, he's great at commentary. He's a good actor. And I wouldn't change anything. You know, I would rather have done a side-by-side, but that's what I was told that we were doing was a side-by-side, sit down side-by-side. But Dominic got scared, so we had to do a split screen. I'm talking shit into a camera, looking into a camera lens. So other than that, it's a little different. I would like to have been side-by-side, but other than that, it's cool, man. He's good with his words, and I feel like, you know, he's a desperate man, and he's just trying to get under my skin and get me riled up, but it's not working.
So I'm happy to go in there. I'm happy that you said that, because I said at the top of the show that I thought it was a mistake not to put you side by side. I didn't think you guys were going to brawl. And so what you're saying is that's what you were told and he nixed it?
Yeah, I mean, if I got a call earlier in the week that was a side by side interview.
Wow.
With Dom, and you know, I got to the fight, and we're split screen. On the screen, I see John and Dominic. I have that goofy ass headset on, and I'm talking into the camera, and you know. It was a little hard to hear, but you know, it was good. It's whatever. It's hyping up the fight. I mean, what I say is real. I'm going to go in there and do that. He believes that he's going to knock me out. I think it's comical. I'm kind of still just laughing about it. You know, they think that he's going to put me in the hospital, and it motivates me. It makes it feel authentic. You know, for me, it makes it feel like a real fight. You know, and for me, I know that he's just playing it up in the media and trying to sell the fight, because he knows damn well he's not going to knock me out.
Has this reached a different level for you? Like, he was on our show a couple weeks ago, and we talked about like him going on your girlfriend's Instagram and talking, and she was responding, and then you come. Like, has this gone to, you know, the personal level? Is it more than just a fight now?
It's a personal level. It goes across the personal level with me, with any of my fighters, any of my adversaries that I fight. When they sign the dotted line, when they sign the contract, they think that they can beat me. That's already strike one. You know, that they're going to try to steal a dream from me. So, you know, I'm signing. You know, he's a champion, whatever, but he's still my adversary. He's still the guy that's going to go in there and try to hurt me, and steal a dream from me. So right there, I already have he's public enemy number one to me, and I'm looking to seek and destroy him. So everything else is added to it. Everything's added fire, added fuel, and I'm going on to my, you know, girlfriend's Instagram and doing that. It's a caddy to me. You know, it's desperation. He's trying to use every angle he can to get me, you know, unfocused, rallied up, you know, emotional, which is good. I like to be emotional. I feel off that. I love it. I love the banner back and forth. But you know, going on my girl's site and doing that, it was just, I don't know. I just lost a lot of respect for him. You know, you can say whatever you want about me, my family, and my upbringing, me being fatherless and coming from a broken family and like that. But you go in and do that, that's just childish. You know, it just shows that he's very immature. And, you know, he's just desperate. He's a desperate man in there.
So you think he crossed the line with that?
Cross the line, I mean, whatever you mean. My girl can hold her own.
Yeah.
You know, so is what it is. He posts up a video of me getting knocked out and thinking it's funny. It's fine. You know, like I said, I learned a lot from that fight. And he just didn't like the backlash that he got from it and my fans. You know, he blocks every one of my fans that, you know, say something that he doesn't like. He's very emotional. I don't block anybody. I don't care. They're going to talk, you know, that about me. That's fine. I'll like their comment. I'll talk back to them. And, you know, hey, you know, you better hope Dominic does this to me if this we're going to stay on my page. But, you know, I think it was just real catty of him to go on there and do that. I mean, crossing the line, whatever, but I kind of like, you know, I'm not really focused on it. It's like I said, my girl can hold her own. I think he needs to be focused on more than, you know, going on my girlfriend's page and talking crap and doing that. You know, he needs to focus on me and not on her, but that's fine. Let him do what he wants. Let him say what he wants. You know, at the end of the day, we're fighting December 30th, and all the trash talking is going to be thrown out the window, and the fists are going to be flying.
On Saturday, and even when he was on the show a couple weeks ago, you know, he talks a lot about the knockout, like you getting knocked out, saying, you know, you're punch drunk, and that how many concussions have you had? Why do you think he keeps focusing on this? Do you think he's trying to find, you know, what bothers you the most and just attack that? Is that what he's doing?
Of course, you know, someone getting knocked out, you know, and they're just trying to play on that, like, oh, I can knock him out. He's been knocked out. I never lost a fight since then, and you know what? I've done a lot of things differently since that fight. You know, obviously I went to UPMC with Dr. Collins and did vestibular therapy. I had crystals out of my ears, so I got everything back into place. I did, you know, UPMC with Dr. Collins is Sidney Crosby's doctor. So it's so amazing, man. Ever since I did that 3 years ago, I never felt better. And so he's just trying to, like I said, he's desperate. He's trying to get any angle he can and get under anyone's skin. And anyone he fights, he always does that. So I already knew going into this, he's gonna, that was gonna be brought up. Almeida brought that up. The same thing they did that fight week, and it just, hey man, they're gonna find out the hard way. You're hoping that you're gonna go in there and finish me and do that. It's only adding fuel to the fire, keep me more motivated, more focused, more hungry, more just ready to get my hands on them and do what I know how to do in there, this fight.
Like I said, he was on the show a couple weeks ago. I want to just play you a quick clip about what he said about you and then get your response. Is that cool?
All right, go ahead.
All right, here we go.
Anything you say, he flies off the handle. I mean, anything. You could literally say, your hairline's a little crooked, and this guy is going to go crazy and say, don't ever talk about my hairline. I'm going to bash your face in. Like, man, relax, guy. Like, he's just, everything you say, he's like a ticking time bomb. And that's because he wants to be that. He wants to portray this image that really he has no love. He's tough, he's a savage, he's this, he's that, but those are the most insecure people in the world, are the ones that have to call themselves something that they're not.
What's your response to that?
I actually do got a lot of love, man. I'm no love in the cage. I don't show my adversaries, love, but I got a lot of love for a lot of things in my life, and I don't have insecurities. He's the one that has insecurities. He's the one to talk about, if you go back on his interviews, he's the one that talks about concussion. That's his fear. He got knocked out in practice. Going back on the interview, he brought up concussions, and he's the one that brought up, daddy issues about me. He's the one, if you go back on an interview, he's the one that said that, my mom just kept it real, Christmas was weak because my dad wasn't around. That's his insecurities, and he's trying to put them on me, which, I mean, it's fine. Like, I'm a better man than him. I'm not going to go and stoop that low to his level. That's childish, talking about his upbringing and, not having a father in his life, or him getting knocked out in practice. Okay, it's cool, man. There's a lot of people in the UFC and fighters that get stopped and knocked out in practice. I mean that they have a weak chin. It happens. You're fighting you're in these gyms that have the best fighters in the world, testing each other every day. It's going to happen. Mine's going to be in a fight. He has happened to be where there's no cameras, video, but he still speaks about that. So he is in the back of his mind getting knocked out. He's been dropped before. He's been, Faber's put him on his ass a couple of times. TJ had him wobbled, and they don't possess the power that I possess. So he knows that that's his fear. He keeps up bringing knockout, concussion. Because really that's what he fears that I'm going to do to him. He fears that I'm going to knock him out. And he's damn right. That's what I'm going to do.
Faber, Benavidez, Dillashaw, he's had this history with Team Alpha Male, and one could say that you're, obviously you're the next guy, but there's no one really in his weight class that's coming up after you. Do you feel the pressure to finally be the guy to unseat him, to be the guy from the team to finally dethrone Dominic Cruz?
No pressure. I'm no pressure. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the process of becoming a world champion. And ever since I set out in MMA, ever since I said I want to be a fighter, I want to be not only be a fighter. The first time I said I want to be a UFC champion. I was 13, and I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a reason. It's to fight him. I've pictured myself knocking him out since I was a teenager, and we're 11 days away from doing that. No extra pressure. Like I said, it's another fight for me. I'm not letting it get to my head or let it lose focus. That it's a world title fight. I'm fighting one of the best bantamweight fighters in the world. I'll give him his respect. He's very consistent on being that. He's great. He's a great fighter. He's been the champion, but it's another fight for me. I'm not surprised that I'm here. I believe in myself. That's the power of self-belief, and envisioning myself being here.
What's it like for you 13 days before that fight to be sitting in Sacramento in that new arena and watching your mentor, Uriah Faber, retire, and the emotion that went involved? Like, as you're preparing, and it's rare to be at a fight that close to a massively big fight for you in your career, but to watch someone like Faber, how much he means to you, how did you channel what you were watching and what happened to him and going out on top into getting ready for your fight?
It was bittersweet. Faber's a guy that I look looked up to a lot in the sport, getting into it, and guys paved the way for so many fighters like myself, that are here. We wouldn't be here without him. So watching them in the back warm up and make that final walk into the octagon and going out there and performing and seeing the old Uriah that we know that goes out there and just puts on a show. I mean, it was an exciting fight. Brad Pickett's no walk in the park. He's tough as they come. And it was a great fight. Great atmosphere. Sacramento came out, sent favor on his, farewell fight. So it was great. The energy, it recharged me, it focused me. It was great to be there and just hear the crowd, just, see everyone supporting our team and Uriah. So it was great. Recharged, refocused on, now I'm down here talking to the media about my fight, and not only this fight, but my first, world title fight. It's amazing. It's motivating. It's motivating these times that I'm seeing, I'm getting experience. I'm very motivated and focused.
When you debuted in 2012, he was champion. He was kind of in that weird period of, I actually think it was like around the time that he was filming the show with Uriah. Was it right from the beginning that you were like, I'm getting into this sport and this is the guy? Because it's rare for someone to debut in the sport and the champion is the guy that he fights in his first title fight, and that's your situation. Were you thinking about Dominic all the way back then?
All the way. I mean, when I was an amateur, when I was boxing, before I even did MMA, I was, Uriah and Dominic were at the top, the champions in 2007. Or when it was, and maybe I have the dates wrong, but I pictured myself fighting Dominic. I pictured myself knocking Dominic out for the world title. It was obviously I was picturing myself in the WC because I never felt like I was big enough to be a lightweight or a welterweight. But the UFC bought the WC, and here I am, getting ready to fight Dominic Cruz, who I've envisioned knocking out since I was a teenager. And like I said, I believe in fate and can't fight fate, and it's my destiny to be a world champion.
Is Faber going to be in your corner on December 30th?
No, actually not. I have Justin Buckles, Danny Castile, Chris Holdsworth, my uncle Robert Meese. But Faber's going to be there with me all fight week, help me out, get me ready, prepared. And he's the guy that I like having around. His positivity and just his demeanor on everyday life. Enjoying it. Be happy. He's a good person to be around.
Sure.
Spirit. So I'm glad that he's going to be out there for fight week and just keep me motivated and focused.
And of course, no one knows him better than Dominic. But I'm wondering, when you're sparring, when you're preparing for the fight, do you have someone who's emulating Dominic? Because his style is a little bit different, as you know.
I got a lot of good looks this camp. Ricky Tejero, he's 8-0 pro. He's got a good, awkward style. Andre Feely really simulated Dominic well. Anthony Villa. I had some of our other fighters, Andrew, Cyclone. A lot of these named fighters that you'll be hearing about more and more really helped me out this camp with emulating Dominic's goofy, unorthodox style. So very thankful for them and my team and coaches to get me ready for this, world title fight against Dominic. Feel extremely confident and excited to get in there.
And what about my man, Maddox Maple? Is he going to be there on December 30th?
Maddox Maple, he's going to be there, him and his family, and a lot of my people from my hometown are making the voyage out from Ohio.
Wow.
Maddox is excited. We were told that he gets to walk down. We're just kind of waiting for 100% confirmation that he gets to walk into the cage.
Oh, wow.
I find out the fight week. Yeah, it's amazing. That was one of his goals was to walk me down, and they agreed that in July, and then we kind of put that to rest. Like, all right, next time, we'll ask if you can walk me down for a world title shot, when I fight for the world title. And, here I am, and Maddox will be out there, and, we're just waiting for 100% confirmation that he's able to, walk me down there. And hope so. I'm really hoping, he's very excited for that. I know that's what he wants to do and something that he held on to when he was fighting for his life. So hopefully at the UFC and T-Mobile grant that wish for him.
And not to get ahead of ourselves, but I'm just curious, you beat Dominic and TJ Dillashaw beats Lineker. I would imagine that could be the next fight. Do you have any problem fighting him?
No, I don't have any problem fighting Lineker or TJ. They would actually be easier fights for me than Dominic, because Dominic runs and TJ and Lineker will, bring a fight. They want to fight. So, whoever wins, let the best man win out of that. And I'll be awaiting my next opponent, my first title defense against either or.
So are you worried about him, quote unquote, running? Do you think it's going to be sort of a frustrating fight where you're going to have to chase him?
No, I mean, I have very good movement. I have good measuring with good accuracy. I good pressure, very good pressure. he's not the same fighter he was. He's slowing down. He's always got 2 busted knees. His hands are all busted up. He's an old man there. So, I think he's going to have a good 3 minutes of that movement, and I'll figure him out. Patterns, like I said, my training partners and coaches have gotten me prepared for his movements and what he uses. He uses a lot of the same movements he's had in the past, 5 to 6 years. So he hasn't changed. He hasn't evolved as a fighter. And, I'm looking forward to dissecting him and dethroning him.
2 last quick things. Do you think that Dominick Cruz believes that he's in your head? I get the impression by the way he speaks about you and to you that he thinks he's already figured you out. Do you think that he thinks that?
No, I see a desperate man in all his interviews and the way he speaks. He's desperate. He's desperate to know what kind of fighter I am, and the 4th and 5th round, or in this position, or see his wrestling. No one's seen any of that. No one's seen untapped potential that I haven't even got to showcase in there. And like I said on our Fox channel, little thing Saturday,
yeah,
he's man enough to take me into those 4th and 5th rounds or put me in those bad positions. Go ahead. Then see, I'm a survivor. I'm here for a reason. If he's man enough to put me in those positions, okay, good for him. I want to let my skills show, and I'm thankful for that. But I always have it, in front of my mind that I can end the fight in one shot. He can't. He's got to try to evade me for 5 rounds, be elusive for 5 rounds. And when you have someone that's fast and powerful and has constant pressure, it's hard to do. It's going to be hard to do. So I want to see, how desperate he is. He wants to say he's going to sit there and knock me out. But then I just heard an interview, guys going to keep trying to take me down and punch me to work up. Look, I've wrestled since I was a kid. I'm on the best team for grappling in the world. So he's in a rude awakening. He thinks it's going to be that easy to just take me down and do this. I come from Ohio, and it is one of the best states in the United States of wrestling. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to go in there and let my skills show against one of the best. I think this is going to be my coming out party for every fight is better and better for me. And it's a bigger stage. And that's when I shine the best, is when the spotlight's on me the most. I have so much to gain from this fight. I have nothing to lose.
And lastly, you've been good with your predictions. So what's the official one?
I really want to finish Dominic. I feel like I'm going to finish him. I know in my heart that I'm going to finish him. I've seen it so many times, like I said, as a teenager, me finishing Dominic. It's about being, patient in there. Patient. He moves around. And I know my shots will come. I know I'll land a good one and put him to sleep. And, it depends on, what kind of fight he brings to me. If he comes out, trying to brawl, like he says he's going to try to put me, knock me out, then it's going to be an early night for me. But he comes out like he does, cautious, fades. It's, I'm going to say second round, first or second round. The only reason I want to take him to the second round, I want to make him have a conscious decision to get up off the stool and answer the second round after beating him up so bad in the first round.
Damn. Can't wait for it. Great stuff, Cody. All the best. Good luck out there in Los Angeles with the media, and very much looking forward to seeing you in Las Vegas. Thanks, my man.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Good day.
100%. There he is. Cody, no love, Garbrandt, big fight for him. He fights for the UFC bantamweight title December 30th. That's a Friday night, by the way, in Las Vegas. I wonder if, obviously, they're doing the Friday night show because December 31st is New Year's Eve on a Saturday night, which is a strange spot for them. Last time this happened was with UFC 141, Brock Lesnar, Alistair Overeem. I wonder if the risk of doing it on Friday is smarter than just doing an earlier pay-per-view on Saturday to not conflict with people's New Year's plans. I wonder how much of a hit they take when they do the Friday night pay-per-view. It's a fantastic one, obviously, not just with the 2 title fights for Doom Kane and Lineker Dillashaw on that main card. Still waiting for Jessica Andrade's opponent. But yeah, that is definitely one worth buying on December 30th. Okay, big news, of course, this past weekend, this Saturday in Sacramento, Michelle Waterson returning to action, first time in a year and a half, and dominating Paige Van Zandt. She gets the early rear naked choke victory in the first round. What a performance for her. What a time for her with her documentary coming out Friday. She is kind enough to join us right now via the magic of Skype. There she is, Michelle Waterson, joining us right now. How are you, Michelle?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's so great to have you on. Congratulations. To do that to someone like Paige on the biggest platform possible in this sport. There's no bigger platform than Fox. 24 hours after this big documentary of yours comes out. I mean, does this kind of feel like a dream now for all of this to happen to you after the long layoff?
It is pretty crazy. So I just tried to not think about it too much because I knew that if I did, it would distract me from what I needed to get done.
So, like, I feel, as well as anyone, this sport, it's a very what have you done for me lately sport. And to be away for a year and a half, you're kind of forgotten, right? I mean, so much happens. Were you feeling that way, that you were just sort of like people just kind of forgot who you were going into this fight?
Yeah, a little bit. I've been fighting for so long, and to be out for a year and a half was killing me, watching all my teammates get in there and fight and continue to grow and evolve. And so I stayed in the shadows and I kept grinding and I just knew that it would pay off.
I told a story at the beginning of this show about when I saw you at the gym in November of last year, and there's the famous Araya, the superstar that is Araya, just walking in the background, always getting some camera time. She's great at that. She's like a superstar. I mean, she's a celebrity now. Yeah. So I remember seeing you at the gym after Holly won against Ronda, and it felt like you were going through this range of emotions because you were so happy for your friend, but you had just found out that you were out of the Tisha Torres fight a month later, and you were kind of sad about the knee injury. Do you remember that moment? What was that? Because I just remember kind of the look on your face, like you were emotional for Holly, happy emotions, but also sad emotions as well. And I was thinking about the hand injury and all that stuff. I mean, that all has to make this feel that much better, right?
It does. It's crazy to think back that far and think about how much has happened since then. Yeah, I mean, you taking me back to a throwback, and I do remember thinking and being so proud of Holly and wanting to just get right back in the gym and train and be where she was and be able to, be under the lights and just do what I love to do. But I also understand that everything happens for a reason, and I needed to endure that struggle. I needed to have those adversities and those challenges.
So even with those adversities, was there a point where you thought that you wouldn't get back to this point where it just wasn't going to come together for you?
No. Hold on, baby. There were some times that I was frustrated, and not because I didn't think I was meant for it or any of that, but because I am not only a fighter, I'm also a wife and a mother, and I have responsibilities as those things. And being a fighter is a very selfish career, and you can't always spend as much time as you'd like with your children because you're training 4 times a day and you're bringing your work home with you with the diet and the nutrition. Sometimes you have to skip holidays because it just is what it is. If you don't, it throws off your focus. And that is what got to me the most is, here I am being selfish and trying to attain my dream as a fighter. And, my daughter's suffering for it because I can't be 100% mommy. And that's what killed me. But my husband just kept reminding me that this is what I meant to do. I meant to do great things in the MMA world, and that, we're doing this together as a family, and that Araya will appreciate it more if I continue to fight through and accomplish my dreams.
I thought it was interesting that you said that, you obviously want to be Paige, but you want kind of what she has in the sense of the spotlight and, being a star out of the MMA world, because I feel like you tap into so many different markets, not only as a fighter, as a female fighter, as a mom, as a wife. I told the story again at the beginning of the show where I showed my wife your documentary, and she was all in. She has never said this to me. She does not watch MMA, and she had to leave on Saturday. She said, please tape Michelle's fight for me. She wanted to watch it because she saw your story, and now she was immediately connected to it as a mother herself, as a female. And I feel like there's so much there that the UFC can now do with you. Do you feel like it's going to come just as a result? Are you confident that now your world is about to change in 2017?
I do. I hope so. We're ready for it. We're ready for anything. And when I talk about, the things that I want from Paige is because, fighting is a hard sport, and to be out for a year and a half, and basically I've been unemployed for a year and a half, but I've been training like I have a full-time job. And so that's the hard part is man, like I want to give it my all, and I am giving it my all, but it's taking extra energy because I'm also, my husband's also gone longer because he has to pick up the slack for me not bringing any money in financially. And I'm also a mom, so I have to wake up early and take my daughter to school, get her ready, pack her lunch, pick her up, take her to gymnastics, take her to karate. So all of these things cut into my time, and I just sleep less. And to think that if I were sponsored by Reebok or Monster, how much of a financial burden would be lifted off of my shoulders, and how much harder I would even be able to train. Like, I trained so hard for this fight, and I just think about having that financial burden lifted off my shoulders, how much harder I would be able to train.
2+ million people thus far, according to the ratings, watched the fight. Are you sensing that already? Like, do you sense that you have new fans, new people know who you are, new opportunities coming your way?
Yeah, my Instagram jumped up, I think, like 50K.
Wow.
And I'm getting lots of love from everybody. I try to really just be in the moment. And I know I was going into Sacramento, into her hometown and her turf or whatever, but I got nothing but love out there, and everybody was real nice. So it was lots of fun.
Did you see the documentary before it came out?
I got a chance to watch a little bit. Yeah, we watched it. I haven't got a chance to watch the whole thing now that it's been edited with some of the new fight footage.
Are you happy with it though?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think Sean Menard did a great job of capturing my family, and there's a lot of personal things in there that I probably wouldn't talk about if Sean hadn't encouraged me to open up that part of my life. And I'm glad I did, because I think a lot of people can relate.
And what timing to have it come out the day before your big fight on Fox. How did it end up on Undisputed? They don't usually do MMA stuff. Uninterrupted, not Undisputed, excuse me.
Uninterrupted, yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think they just really fell in love with the story. It can appeal to everybody. Everybody has a family.
Yeah.
Everybody's, you're either a mom or a daughter or a son to somebody, and you're never going through a struggle on your own, and so I think it's just people can relate.
So a funny thing happened last week. You mentioned last time you were on the show that you thought that she was very green. And then all of a sudden, I heard you ask this question a million times. Now, no one mentioned you said it on this show. Like, can I get some credit here? Can I get a plug for the show? I never got that. But you were asked this question 1,000 times, the very green. Were you surprised at how of a big deal this turned into?
I kept thinking, man, who was the one that got me to say that? Because he just totally threw me under the bus.
No, I didn't throw any. I asked you a question. You're the one that said it.
No, I appreciate it, because you always pull out the real answers from me. And it's something I'm working on. And like I said in all the interviews before, and I know that the media has a way of trying to, take one thing and making it something bigger. But I was just being honest.
Yeah.
And I was just... And they kept wanting more. They kept saying, "Oh, so you're green. So can you talk a little bit more about that?" And there wasn't any more. It was just, she's green.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
You know what I hate about that, though? I feel like that will preclude, like, we want our athletes to be honest, and then they say something honest, and then we keep, like, hammering you for it, and that will then preclude you from being honest. And you're just like, well, this is not worth it anymore. I'm not going to tell you what I really think.
No, I will still continue to be honest, and I work on it each time to get better and better at it, because I think people can appreciate the honesty.
When you guys did the weigh-in and she started dancing, did that tell you anything about her? Did you think that she was doing that to loosen you up? Was there anything more to that in your opinion?
I just think that's her personality. She's just like a fun-loving girl, and we were the main event. There was no trash talking, so let's try to bring some attention to the fight some other way. And it was funny. It kind of caught me off guard. I wish I would have known. I would have practiced some different moves.
No, I think you held your own. And then you get to the fight and you switch stances on her early. And we had your coach, Mike Winkeljohn, on earlier in the show, and he talked about that. But just from your perspective, was that something that you came up with early in camp? Because he had mentioned that your hand was busted up, so you wanted to be a little more, just be different as far as preparing for the fight is concerned. But was that something that you pinpointed early, like, oh, I can really get her off her game if I switch this up early?
I don't think the stance is what I was trying to do to get her off her game, but like, I know everybody scouts, and I've been out for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So I've had the chance to change my skills and my style. So like I said, I think everything happens for a reason. And it just happened to be that changing my stance was the perfect thing to do that. But when I did karate, I was traditionally a southpaw. It wasn't until I started fighting MMA that I switched regular. So I feel now, after training MMA for over 10 years, that I can start implementing my karate again and trying to mix it up with the things that I've learned in the last 10 years.
Why did you switch when you started MMA?
Because I don't know, because I think it's just one of those things. When I go to learn something, I want to learn it correctly. And my style was very point sparring, and it didn't help. I had to break my habit of point sparring. And one of the ways to do that was to just completely change my stance and to learn, kickboxing or boxing from just a fresh slate.
Okay. You've gotten a lot of love for the throw and the submission. What impressed me the most was the transition from the throw to the submission, how you took her back on the ground. Is that something you worked on a lot? It was just flawless, seamless the way you did it.
Yeah, Professor Barata and I, we just put hours and hours in on drilling. I mean, there was no talking. We weren't talking, we weren't laughing, we weren't chatting it up, we were just drilling. And it really paid off. And the reason why we drilled so much is because we knew that Paige was good at scrambling out of things. And when Paige scrambles out of things, she gets momentum and she gets feel. And that gives her more momentum to continue the fight. And I didn't want to give her any of that. I didn't want to give her any momentum.
So, you know how the internet is. Some people have said that she didn't actually go out, that, she just kind of went to sleep on her own, but she wasn't actually unconscious. Did you feel her body go limp when John McCarthy pulled you off?
I could hear her kind of struggling to breathe.
Okay.
And I just remember just trying to tell myself to relax into the position and hold. And then John pulled my arm off, and that's all I remember.
Did your daughter really say to you that you'd be her favorite fighter if you won? That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Jeez.
She did. But because we watched the fights together. She goes to all the fights. We go out to dinner and we all watch the fights together. And the week before, my teammate Lando landed that awesome head kick and won his fight. He's my favorite fighter. And I was like, what? She's like, cuz he won. He's cool. And I was like, oh. And she's like, Mom, you'll be my favorite fighter if you win.
Oh, man.
So I kept that in the back of my head.
Yeah. What more motivation do you need? Did you see her as you walked out? I noticed that your husband kissed her like she was cage side with your mom. Did you see her as well?
I did.
What is that like for a mom to see your kid right before stepping into a cage and fighting another human being? What does that do to you?
I thought it might throw me off a little bit, but it really didn't. What it actually did was kind of put things into perspective for me. It's just another day. My daughter's going to be here after the fight's over. She comes with me to the gym when I'm training. I'll be in the gym mid-round, and she's in on the cage side. Mom, I need to go potty. So I'm getting punched in the face, and I'm all, hold on.
Yeah.
And then go back to sparring. So it kind of just put things into perspective for me. I walked in the cage. I was like, man, it's just another day in the office.
Has she ever said to you she wants to be a fighter as well?
No,
okay.
She does not. She trains.
Yeah.
When I teach cardio kickboxing, she's in the other room learning karate. Mm-hmm. So she trains, but people ask her, and she says she doesn't want to get hit in the face.
I don't blame her. I think I saw your mom in the background. What did she have to say about your victory?
She was very excited.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is she there?
Yeah, she doesn't want to be on camera, though.
Can you ask her this for me, though? What does she think of your impression of her?
What do you think about my impression of you, Master Yaya?
I don't care.
She doesn't care.
Okay.
She thinks I exaggerate.
Yeah. Hello.
Excuse this hot mess of a daughter.
Yes. I mean, wow. How are you?
Hi.
How come you're not in school today? Are you off today?
Well, I have a whole weekend off until January.
Oh my gosh, you're so lucky. My son, who's 4 years old, he has school this week. He only gets 1 week off, so you're really lucky.
She has lots of weeks off.
Yes. And it must. Did you have fun watching your mom?
Yes.
Were you happy?
Yes.
Is she your new favorite fighter?
Well, she was always.
Wow, I mean, oh my kids. They're the great. Wow, that was amazing. We didn't plan that. That was amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get emotional here as well. Okay, Array, you're the best. Okay, just a couple more things, and then I'll let you go. Where do you put yourself now in this division? Because now you see people saying, "Oh, give her a title fight, give her a #1 contender fight." Tisha Torres is trying to ask for you. Jessica Andrade is trying to fight you in 13 days. You're the most wanted person in this division all of a sudden. Where do you put yourself? What do you want? And don't say the UFC only. I know you like to give this political, answer, but come on, tell us what you really want.
It feels good to be wanted.
Yes, I bet.
I think all those names sound pretty interesting. I really respect Rose. I think she's a great person. I think it would be an awesome matchup. DC was wanting me to call out Carla, even Carolina. That's what Cruz wanted. Those three, all three, even Joanna. Like, I would love to fight Joanna.
Oh. Wow.
And so, any of those names really sound like interesting fights to me. We'll just have to kind of see what we can do as far as like negotiating those fights and where each one of those will take us in our career.
Yeah, speaking of negotiating, the payroll, the purses came out. Did you really only get 15 and 15? Come on, Michelle. You deserve way more than that. We need to fix this.
It is a little embarrassing, but
she'll do it.
We're gonna fix it.
Yeah, you got to fix that. Holy smokes. I mean, you deserve a ton more than that, and I hope that they do fix it. Are you confident that they will?
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope they know what they have in me, because I'm not going out there just to cruise.
Yeah.
Like I'm here for the UFC, to represent the UFC in the best light that I can, and hopefully they see the value in that,
And I hope you don't think that I was trying to embarrass you. I feel like we should talk about this only because you deserve a hell of a lot more than that. So just for the record, I am on board with that idea. And how soon do you want to return?
I do like to have at least 8 to 10 weeks for camp.
Okay.
And so, I want to enjoy the holidays, and then whatever they can put me in.
Okay. And last question, and this was one thing that came up while watching the documentary. You had mentioned that it was your brother that got you into karate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no mention of your brother throughout the documentary towards the end. Like, we don't see him. Where is your brother?
Mm-hmm. Well, my brother was in the military, and
he lives in Thailand.
No, he doesn't.
Oh.
He lives in Colorado. My brother lives in Colorado.
Okay.
And he actually just got engaged, and I wasn't able to see that, and so that's why I gave him a little shout out.
Was it Max? Is it Max?
Yeah.
Oh yes, I heard you say. Okay, so because I just wanted to know what he thinks about all this. Like, the guy who got you in, we didn't see any interviews with him. I mean, he's responsible for this in many ways. So I was wondering what he thought. Like, did he expect this to happen to you? You're now this worldwide superstar. You're fighting in the UFC. What does he think about all this?
He every New Year's Eve we used to drive up to the mountains and look up at the stars and talk about, what we were gonna do to leave our legacy. And we grew older and we had to become adults, and he chose to get into the military, and he know that I choose to continue to do martial arts, and he's just real proud of me, and he knows that, and he's proud that I stuck to my guns and continued with my career as a martial artist.
Wow, that is beautiful.
He talks about that I did it. I pursued my dreams, and that we're still all doing it together.
Wow,
he's still a partner.
That is amazing. Well, I couldn't be happy for you. Congratulations on the big win. Welcome back. It has been a long time coming, and I hope that you get all those things that you want in 2017, from the new contract to the fame and the notoriety, because you certainly deserve it. Happy holidays to you and your family, Michelle. Thank you for joining us today. Looking forward to your next fight. Bye, Araya.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Enjoy. Talk to you later. There she is, Michelle Waterson, joining us. What a great story that is. I mean, just amazing. If you've ever talked to her, how could you not be happy? You could be the biggest Paige Van Zandt fan in the world, and there's many reasons to be a fan of hers, trust me. But it's impossible not to be happy for Michelle Waterson and her family, her husband in her corner. Trust me, do yourself a favor if you did not see that documentary, and I have no stake in this. Go to uninterrupted.com, and it's right there. It's well worth your time. You'll have a newfound appreciation for her if you don't already appreciate her greatly. The other big story, of course, in addition to Michelle's win, Uriah Faber's retirement, Mickey Gall defeating Sage Northcutt in the second round. He submits him. Big win for him. Big time call out. We have a lot to talk to Mr. Mickey Gall about, and he's joining us right now on the phone. Mickey, are you there?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Good to talk to you. Rare that we have someone back-to-back weeks, but like I said to you via text, we had to get your thoughts because there's a lot that went down there in Sacramento. Overall, Mickey, were you happy with that fight? Were you happy with your performance?
Yeah, it was all right. It was good. You know, yeah, man, I got in there. I got the finish. Like I said, I was in a second round choke. You know, yeah, I felt good. I got hit a little more than I should have. You know, I got a cut opened up that old cut. So, but you know, it was good. It was nice. It was fun.
Why do you think you got hit more than you expected? Was he better than you thought?
No, it's pretty much what I expected. You know, I knew it was going to be a fight. Tough kid, you know, been striking his whole life. It's all good though. It was fun, man. I had a blast. Most fun I had.
Most fun you've had, even more than the Punk fight, considering how big.
Way more fun.
Why is that? Because it felt like a back and forth fight.
Yeah, I got to see my blood in there, and you know, I was just having fun during it. I really was. I was having fun.
You enjoy seeing your blood.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, we're in a fight. It was cool.
Okay, so Twitter exploded when it appeared as though he was talking trash to you, when he was kind of showing you up, standing above you, doing the sort of Diaz thing. What is going through your mind when he's doing this? Are you like, oh shit, look what I've done to Sage? Like, how are you reacting to this?
Yeah, I loved it. I made him step out of his character.
Yeah.
You know, all like in the lead up, all like the talking I was doing, but just you know, I was hoping he'd engage me, and like, you know, talk a little crap. But then, like, even into fight week, it wasn't happening. I was seeing him around, and he was just so kind and sweet. I was like, wow. Like, I was like, man, he just really is a good kid, and I thought it was all not working, you know. Even by the end of the week, me and him were like, I was like teasing around. Like, I was like at the weigh-ins, I go to him, I was like, wow, man, I got lost in those eyes. And you know, like I was just having fun with him. And then he got in there and he got a little evil. I was like, wow, my plan's finally coming to fruition. Like in there, like I thought it was all for loss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then yeah, he started. Evil Sage came out. I like it.
Do you think that was a direct, you know, correlation to you talking all that smack beforehand?
I'd say probably 100%, yeah.
Okay. And for those that missed it, I know you were asked this on the post-fight show, but can you tell us, what did he say to you? What was he saying?
Yeah, I've answered this a few times, so I'll be able to say it quicker. When he stood up out of my guard, he like was standing over me and was like, "Get up, come on, get up." And I was like, "Come on, why don't you come down?" And I thought your jiu-jitsu is better than mine. And then eventually, you know, he threw some kicks at me. He's like, "Yeah, what?" He's like, "What?" And he's like throwing kicks, and then I got up. And I was like, "What, are you tired?" And he's like, "Nah, man, never get tired." And then I don't know, we were saying little stuff. And then I remember when he opened up my cut, he was like, "Ooh, that was good." He's like, "Here comes another one. Another one's coming." Yeah, he was just talking his crap a little bit. It was nice.
I don't know how you didn't laugh. I mean, because he's just such a nice guy. It's like the nicest trash talk possible.
Well, I did the first time. I did. Like, I just smiled. Like, I was like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing.
Is there a part of you, Mickey, that kind of feels bad for Sage in the sense that, like, for us to react this way to a fighter talking smack is not necessarily normal, but he's so clean cut, he's so pure and innocent. There is a part of us that's sort of laughing with him and at him, if you know what I'm saying. Do you feel bad that he's viewed this way, that he's scrutinized this way?
No, I don't feel bad, but I don't think he's really be scrutinized. He's a kid of talent. He's young. He's 20. He's only going to get better. I bet I see him again in a couple years. You know what I mean? In more of a contention spot. I think he's got a lot of talent. He's explosive, athletic. I think he's still going to be great.
I know this might be a weird question to ask you, but do you think that they're pushing him too quickly?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, maybe he's raw in a lot of areas. So, he can get exposed in certain spots, but he also, he could beat people too.
And on the ground, that seems to be, as I said at the top, his Achilles heel. And I'm not expecting you to know everything that he does in training, but there are a lot of people who think that he's doing himself a disservice by staying close to home and being around his family and things like that. Do you think that it would behoove him at this point to get out of his comfort zone and start training with a real camp?
No, it's not. You don't need to go to a super gym, a super camp to be great. You can do that. You can make your own, home gym. But if I don't know, he might just need some time. I really don't know. Like I said, man. I'm nothing but complimentary of him right now. He's a tough kid. He's been striking his whole life. He's a good striker. He just needs to, and you see the way he's built. You see his explosive athleticism. He'll develop a ground game. And I thought he developed it since. I thought he was very patient in the first round. I was waiting for him to make mistakes, and he's very patient. I thought he was applying the rules of jiu-jitsu very well.
What did you say to him immediately after? It was interesting to see you kind of go up to him and say something to him, but I couldn't make it out.
I said to his dad, I was like, hey, you have a great kid. I was like, I think I said that after. I don't know. The way you talking about right away, I think I was like, hey man, let's talk after.
Yeah.
Let's talk. We didn't get that, but yeah, something like that.
What did you want to talk to him about?
Just chit chat.
What do you mean chit chat? What? You want to invite him to train with you?
No, that wasn't the plan. He's in Texas, man. But I was going to talk to him. I just wanted to have a conversation with him, like a good, just like me and him conversation. I just wanted to kind of understand Sage a little bit.
Why?
Just my own curiosity. I just want to talk to him. We just fought. We just shared something in there.
Okay.
I just wanted to talk to him.
And did it not happen because you just, like you?
Yeah, we just got caught up in all the stuff. After and we didn't see each other.
Is that something that you would still like to do?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Did you see the photos of the Diaz brothers talking to him?
Yeah, I saw the photos. I saw the memes where they were like, Page of bad new influences or something.
Yeah, well, maybe the first question I should ask is, did you see them actually talking backstage?
No, I didn't see Sage once we left the cage.
Oh, okay. Wow, what a story that would be if they start training with each other. So then you get the win, and then we're waiting with bated breath for the call out, and you call out Dan Hardy, who hasn't fought in several years, who had the heart condition, who's never fought at 155, yep. And you said you want to go back down to 155. When did you come up with this one?
Well, here's the thing. Everyone seems to like the whole call out thing.
Yes.
And I had a part A and B plan, and I needed to work a C in there. So I kind of came up with the Dan Hardy thing like a week or two ago. Like it was late, man. I didn't, I was like, all right. I did some Googling, and I did see that Dan was talking about coming back for a marquee fight, and he said he wanted to do it at 55. So I figured maybe we could even do it at catchweight something. If it happened, I was just putting my name out there for it. I don't need, I thought it'd be a fun one. It was my chance on the mic. I was like, here, let me say a name that I think would be a fun fight. I want to keep, punching up. I want to keep saying big names. If I don't get a Dan Hardy fight, whatever. I don't get the Dan Hardy fight. I just put my stake in for that. If he wanted to come back, I'd love to see him back. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'd love to see him fight. Big fan of his.
So he was plan C. Who was plan A and B?
I called out CM Punk, and then right as I started getting like the Michael Jackson fight, I plan to call out Sage after I fought Punk.
Oh, okay. So you've been thinking about this, like you've been thinking about. Wait a second. You said that the Dan Hardy thing was like a week ago, so you didn't have someone after.
Nah. I want to fight CM Punk, and I was like, maybe after I beat him, I'd have enough eyes to call out Sage and get that fight too.
But then Dan Hardy comes like a week and a half ago.
Yeah, I was a late one. I was like, what would be the? Because I couldn't think of a.
You couldn't think of
There's a lot of, there's options, man. I was like,
Sure.
let me think. If I'm gonna go to my wish list, I'd like to fight a legend, and I think he's a legend. I think he's awesome. I think it'd be a fun fight.
So at the top of the show, I said that I thought, I've been very, I've praised everything that you've done all year, but I thought this was your first misstep, and I'll explain to you why. I feel like if the UFC is on board with giving you whatever you want at this point because you have backed it up, and now it's becoming like your gimmick, like you're going to call someone out and they're going to give you the fight and people get excited about your call-outs. And I feel like they can't fulfill this request because unless you know something that we don't, Hardy's just not available. He hasn't fought since 2012. So I feel like that's why it was a misstep, because they want to help you. They want to fulfill your request, but they can't. So now it's all for naught. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's fine with me. That's fine. That's fine with me also. If I don't get Dan Hardy, that's cool. That's me. I'm reaching for the stars, Ariel.
Is there a guy after Hardy? Because you've just been so good at these call-outs. I mean, it kind of defines your year. That's how you got into the UFC. So I'm wondering if you think about these things a lot. Like, was there another guy after Hardy or not yet?
I don't think about these things a lot.
You don't?
A lot. Seems like other people do. I don't think about it. I didn't think about it until a week or two ago. I'm like, shit, I probably should have a name to say.
Yeah. Well, because it's become your thing, right?
Yeah, but it's not. I didn't. I didn't make it my thing. I just did it a couple times. It doesn't mean, you know what I mean? Just because everyone's expecting it.
Sure.
I just said a name I wanted.
So is it fair to say that you want to move away from that? That you're kind of happy if you don't get Hardy? You don't want to be the guy who calls out people?
No, I'm not saying I want to move away from it. I'll always say a name. Maybe one name more realistic. Maybe one's more of a wish list. But it's my call out. I can do whatever I want with it.
Sure. And I hope we're all going to have our opinion on everything in the sport. So I'm not necessarily like trying to insult you, but this.
Yeah, I don't care.
It's an exciting thing. We all were waiting for the call out, and you definitely threw.
Who should I have called out? Well, who do you think would have been a better one?
Well, so now you're going down to 155, right? You're no longer at 170.
Yeah.
So it's a whole new set of, because I was thinking 170 for a while. So now I have to think like what do you think of like a Lando Venata type?
That dude's fun. That dude's tough.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun one.
Why you're 3-0 now in the UFC at 170? Why do you want to go down?
I make 70 very easily, and I think if I think I can make 55, I know I can make 55. I just suffer a little bit, be very disciplined. I think I could be a champion there in a couple of years. I really do.
Wow,
I think I'd be a champion there in like a year and a half, something like that.
Wow. So December of 2016. We're talking 2018. You think you could be in that title picture or champion already?
Yeah, something like that.
Wow, that's amazing.
Thanks.
When do you want to come back?
I don't know. Soon. I want to keep fighting. I like fighting. It's fun. Yeah.
Have you had a chance to smell the roses a little bit and think about where you were, exactly a year ago, and how much has changed for you in the last 365 days? I mean, it's incredible, right?
I've been doing it. Yeah, just like the past day or so. It's nice, man. I got 3 UFC wins in the past year, and I didn't expect like I said, I didn't expect to be here, but I'm taking all the right steps to make sure I more than belong here, and then I'm gonna eventually dominate here.
December of 2015, did you already, you debuted in November, right? So did you already have a feeling that this was to come, or did it still seem a bit far-fetched for you? Because you had already called out Punk at that point.
I didn't think anything was going to happen. If you remember, I didn't think anything was going to happen with it. I thought that was just, that had fallen on deaf ears. I found out on the Robbie Lawler Condit card in January that they're actually going to use my, that call out and stuff on the show. So at this point, I was looking for another regional fight.
Oh, okay.
Last year.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. And financially, you're probably a lot more secure today than you were a year ago, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is your full-time job now?
Absolutely, 100%.
What a good life. What a great life that is. And overall,
I love it, man.
Sacramento, what was it like fighting on the West Coast for the first time? Oh, actually, no, you fought in Vegas,
cool.
so this is even more West Coast. But yeah, what was that like for you to be a card with Faber and all that stuff?
It's an honor, man. You know, I said it to him, and it's an honor. It really is. That dude's a legend. I got to fight on his last 2 cards. Fighting right after him on his last 2 cards is quite an honor.
Did he say anything to you after? Because, you know, some people were saying he should have been the main event, all that stuff. And I know, you know, you kind of felt
I agree with that.
You agree with that?
But he's so humble and just like, nah, man, it's just, you know, he's just so cool and chill about it. I agree with that. There's no way I should be fighting after him. Just like I was saying in the beginning with the CM Punk stuff, you know, I'm getting a weird push, like, you know, similar to like Sage got. And, you know, I talked to some of the vets out here. I was talking to Eddie Weiland, who's a great guy, had a lot of great words and advice from me out here. And they're just like, yeah, man, you just got to make the most of it. Opportunities, they don't always come in the sport. And, you know, he's like, you're getting them, take them, run with them.
So you almost
because, yeah, I do feel a certain weird way about it. Like I'm, you know, like I'm cutting people in line and, you know, stuff like that. But what am I going to do? Say no? No, I'm going to take it. I'm going to make the most of it.
Do you get that cold shoulder from the guys, or do you feel the need to go up to the vets and tell them that yourself?
Everyone's been very nice to me, but that's you know, everyone's been very friendly. They're like, hey, good for you. You know, everyone seems very happy for me, and you know, that's nice. I think just they're just great people. You know, I'm not walking around being a dick. You know, I'm smiling, saying, hey, man, what's up? You know.
Sure. I think the way you handle yourself and carry yourself gives people no ammunition to hate on you, because you don't walk around acting like, you know, this is, of course this should be happening to me. Of course I should be getting this attention. And so it's impossible.
Nah, it's crazy that's happened to me. It's crazy I'm getting this attention.
Do you notice a difference between fighting on Fox and fighting, you know, CM Punk? Yes, less people, but that was like a very publicized fight. Like, do you sense in the aftermath a difference in the way people are talking about you?
I haven't been paying much attention. I haven't really been on social media. I've just been hanging out with my friends, just chilling out, really. I've been paying too much attention.
Okay.
So I don't really know. I don't really concern myself with that too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't read too much into it.
And you're on the West Coast now, right?
Yeah, I'm going to LA for a couple of days.
Just chilling out?
Yeah, going to stay at my friend's place.
Okay, and so, you know, I had to try to do this because everyone wants to know what Dan Hardy thinks of your call out. We actually have Dan on the show. Would you mind talking to Dan?
Sure.
Okay, here we go. Here's Dan Hardy via Skype. There he is, the outlaw himself. Now, you guys can't see each other, but Dan, you're there, right?
Yeah, I'm here. How's it going?
And we've got Mickey on the phone. Mickey, you there?
Yeah.
Oh, this is awesome.
What's up, Dan?
How are you, man? You good? Congratulations at the weekend. Great. That was a good performance.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, so Dan, the world wants to know, what did you think when, out of nowhere, Mickey Gall says he wants to fight you?
I almost spat my tea out my mouth when I was sat watching it. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning I was watching, and I just wasn't expecting it. I mean, you know, I appreciate the call out. I appreciate the respect that you're showing me. But I've never fought anybody with less than 8 fights, not even in my first pro fight. You know what I mean? It's just... you know, we're at different phases in our career. I'm not looking at knocking off a future contender that I'm possibly going to be commentating for in the future. And at the same time, if I was going to fight, I want to fight a veteran. I want to fight someone that's had 20, 30 fights, that, you know, has matured in their game and is sure of their fighting style, instead of someone that's still developing. I like to see the development of these young fighters, and I don't want to interfere with that in any way. I'm 10 years older. We're at different phases in our career, you know.
Right. Mickey, what do you think of that?
That's, you know, he has a right to feel that way. I respect that too. That's cool. You know, you're a legend. Would have been an honor to fight you. That's cool, man. Yeah, I love you, Dan.
Maybe,
thank you, man.
Maybe in 4 or 5 fights, you know, you get those 8, 9 fights under your belt, and then we could do this again.
Maybe. If I'm not too old. I've got grey coming through my beard. I'm turning into Gandalf out here.
All right, Mickey. Well, I'll
go on a grappling tournament or something.
A grappling tournament. Mickey, what do you think? Grappling tournament?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right.
I'd love to get my game on point. We'll do EBI or Polaris or something.
That'd be cool.
Okay. We've got something here. I'd like 10%. Mickey, appreciate the time. Thank you very much, and congratulations to you.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Okay, there he is, Mickey Gall. Dan Hardy now with us. How about that? That was a lot of fun. A very respectful response, but to sum it up, thanks but no thanks. Not interested.
It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't appeal to me. I don't want to beat up a kid that I'm enjoying watching. There's a lot of older guys out there that have, they're matured in their style. They know their fighting style. They know their capabilities, and there's a lot of fighters out there that I would be motivated to fight. And Mickey's a kid. He's, I appreciate where he is in his career. He's had 4 fights, and he's an exciting prospect for the future. I don't want to play a part in that, in the building of his career in any way.
Yeah. The feeling that I have here is like an 8th grader going up to a girl in the 11th grade and saying, I want to take you to the prom. And you're just like, you're not quite at my level at this point. I mean, I kind of felt bad just now, dude. Did you get that sense too?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think he's realistic. He said in the post-fight press conference that it was a bit of a, it was a bit of a haymaker, a bit of a wild, call out. And I appreciate that. It surprised me, but I appreciate, it was very respectful of him. I don't think it was, done in bad taste in any way. I wasn't offended by it, but, there's 100 guys on the UFC roster that would be much better opponents for him right now.
Can you set the scene for us? Like, you say that you're in London now, you're drinking tea, it's 4 a.m. And I mean, I feel like the last thing you would think of is to have your name called out on national television. So what exactly are you doing? And then what's your immediate reaction when you're like, oh shit, Dan Hardy, that's me. He just called me out.
Well, I laughed. And I turned to my wife and I said, that's going to break Twitter. You know that, don't you? And it did about 3 hours afterwards.
Yeah. I liked your response. Was he old enough? You heard what he said. He went to your title fight against GSP, so I guess he was old enough.
I did hear that. Yeah. I was just,
sure,
a bit, joking. But yeah, it's, that was cool. It was cool to. I remember the first time I went to a UFC event as well. My first live event was 85. I always said that I was never going to pay for a ticket. Well, I wouldn't go to a UFC until they sent me a ticket. So that's what I did. And my first one was 85, and that was Hughes against Alves in London. And there you go, Thiago Alves. That'd be a great fight for him. That'd be really funny if he wants to fight a veteran.
Sure,
a guy that's struggling to make 155. I think we should introduce a 162 weight class. Have those two guys pioneer that.
Why 162 and not 160?
Well, because 160 is 5 pounds over lightweight and 10 pounds under welterweight, and I think 162, the extra 2 pounds is, it's a better meeting ground. I don't like half pounds, so 162 to 163 with the pound allowance is nice.
Oh yeah, I do like that. Do you? And this is a complete tangent, but do you think that there should be more weight classes in the UFC?
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Part of the problem with Conor holding 2 belts was that it was going to tie up 2 divisions.
Yeah.
So, we need more divisions. We've got fighters to make the divisions. There's no doubt about it. The sport's growing. We're having more shows every year. There are more places in the world that are producing fighters that want shows. We need more weight classes. 15 pounds is a big jump. If you look at boxing, we're not close to 15-pound jumps.
Right.
So I think, and we've got room to make more. A light welterweight weight class at 162 would be great. Maybe add a 178 in as well at some point.
Yep. Especially between 205 and 185, just such a huge jump there for some of the guys. So this is the thing that has happened as a result of the Mickey Gall call out. You're in the news, and people are like, okay, well, Dan Hardy hasn't fought since 2012. We know about the wolf heart and all that, and you've talked to us about wanting to come back. And we were wondering, like, wait a second, does Mickey Gall know something that we don't? Like, did he get a tip from Dana White? And is Dan coming back? So are you coming back? Are you not fighting? Because, people are like, Dan's not coming back. He keeps telling us it's not. Shoot straight with us. Are you actually coming back at some point? Is 2017 the year that you return?
I don't know. I've got tests in January.
Okay.
I'm going to do more tests in January, and hopefully I get some good news. The doctors that I'm going to see have already seen my test results from, back when I was testing for the Matt Brown fight, and I don't know what the news is going to be. I'm open to either way. I'm just trying to be at peace with it. I've got so many good opportunities coming through with the UFC. I'm just at the beginning of starting a new 3-year deal as a commentator. I love my analyst job. I'm in London right now, ready to record the Inside the Octagon for 207. We'll put part 3 fights for that, and I love it. I love being obsessive. And the other thing as well is, and I might as well break the news here, I've got a book being released. I put it out on my Twitter the other day, and that's been a massive project for me for the past few months, and it's coming to a close now, and the book will be ready March 23rd. So that's, there's a lot going on. And if I can get these tests, if I can get good news with these tests, then that'll be another door that will open for me. And I'll start exploring that avenue if and when it opens.
Well, obviously, congrats on the new deal. Congrats on the upcoming book. I guess the question is, why even why even fight when you've got all this good stuff happening and you don't get your face punched? What's the point at this point?
Because I love it.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
It's as simple as that. I love it. Dana said the same thing to me. I've spoken to him a few times, and every time he says the same thing. It's like, why the fuck would you fight again?
Yeah,
you got a job for life. I get it. I totally get it, and I'm totally appreciative of where I'm at. But if I knew in the back of my head that I've got the option just to step in for the occasional fight when I want, I mean that's a great option to have, especially with the sport as it is and with all these massive marquee fights that are happening and guys pulling out at the last minute and there's been a mad search for a replacement and it'd just be nice to be able to have the option to throw my name in that hat.
This test in January, is this the final one? Like, will this one decide if you can fight again or not?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this will be the one, yeah. So I'm going in, it's 2 days of testing. I'm doing pretty much everything I need to do to find out where I'm at, not only for my fight career, but with my health as well. I mean, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to be told that all of a sudden there's something wrong with you when I've had no symptoms or issues or side effects or anything, and I push my heart more than most people ever will, and It's never failed.
Wow. Where does this test take place?
It'll be in the UK. It's just outside of London.
Okay.
I'm going to a sports cardio specialist just outside of London that deal with cardiac issues with athletes. So they're the best people in the country I could find, and they'll give me a completely honest, impartial opinion.
And okay, so let's just say that goes well. You've talked about 155. Do you really want to go down at this stage as well to 155?
What I want is a new weight class at 162.
Okay, you want that too? You want that one too? Okay, all right. So you'll not only will you come back, you'll come back to a new weight class as well.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Outlaw weight. Why not?
I like it. Okay, let's just say it goes well in January. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but how soon thereafter can you fight? Like, because of course you have to get back into fight shape, right? I mean, you're in good shape now, you're in great shape now, but there's a difference between just being a civilian in great shape and fight shape, correct?
Oh yeah, there's a massive difference. I got to switch a few things on in my brain as well. I've been very much sitting on the other side of the fence for a long time, and I'm watching the sport from the outside. And although that's given me a great perspective and a much deeper understanding of what's happening in the fight generally when I'm not involved. It'd be a massive step forward to get back into a training camp and start preparing again. It'd be exciting, but what my plan would be, obviously I'd have to get into the USADA testing pool and figure all that out, which is a few months on top. But I don't know. I mean, I've just got to take things in stages. The first stage is doing the testing and seeing where that leaves me. And if that leaves the door open for me to progress, then I'll approach the UFC and see what my options are and what I have to do just to put the option in front of me. And then I would like to slowly pick training up until the point I feel like I'm about 80% walking around.
If the results come back and they say you can't fight, will you be at peace with that, or will that be something that you think about for the rest of your life, that you don't get to go out on your own terms?
Well, if the option's taken from me, then I can't resist it. I can't fight it. It was something my mum said to me when I first found out it was March of 2012, before the Matt Brown fight. And my mum, I was speaking to her on the phone and I was saying, look, this may be it. This may take the option away from me. And she said, well, maybe that's the only thing that would take the option away from you, because you would have just fought until, I'd have done a down 7 and fought until, I was in my 60s, and that's just my mentality, my mindset. And it's not until these last 3 years that have pulled me away from it and forced me to look in different directions and kind of almost discover new talents that I didn't really know I had. I'm realizing I'm fairly good at communicating with people, and the sport is in dire need of people that can talk to people that have never heard of the sport before and still have preconceived conceptions of what it is. And one thing that I love doing with this analyst role is to be able to present a sport in a light that most people won't see it at the first glance. You know, like you see two guys in a cage bloodied up, and immediately people jump on the defensive and close off to it. Whereas if they can hear somebody talking about what's going on and the intricacies of the sport, they realize that these two people are actually in there by choice, and they're learning about themselves because of it.
Yeah.
You know, the blood is just a side effect of it, and we accept that as an occupational hazard. And I think that there are a lot of people that love the sport that aren't able to communicate why they love the sport. And I feel like I have an ability to do that. So almost like I have a responsibility to do that.
Did you want to be a TV commentator growing up, or is this something that just kind of fell in your lap? Because you're so damn good at it, by the way.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. I don't know. I didn't want to be. No, I had no real interest in it. I didn't ever think about TV when I was a kid. And no, I didn't want to be an actor or anything. I wanted to be a pirate. I wanted to be a velociraptor for a short while.
Oh, wow.
And then I wanted to be a designer for Lego. Ultimately, that's what I wanted to do. I never thought martial arts would be a career. I never considered that I'd be able to make a living out of it other than being a teacher, which was obviously a plan. But yeah, it's been a wonderful job, and I feel like I've been kind of pushed in various different directions by the universe, and I've got to be accepting of whichever way it pushes me next.
Wait a second, a designer for Lego, was that as an adult or a child?
Both.
Wow.
I'd still take that job right now. I'd love to be.
I didn't even know, like, how is that an actual job? I mean, I'm sure someone does design it, but like, how do you actually go down that path of becoming a designer for Lego? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know. You got to be some kind of special individual.
Yeah.
I think they delivered from another planet to contribute to that company. I love that. I love Lego.
What? Still to this day?
Yeah. I still get Lego every birthday and Christmas.
Well, that is amazing. What does your wife think about you wanting to fight again? Does she say the same? Why do you want to do this, or does she support it?
No, she understands. She's a very driven yogi and aerial performer as well. So she trains every day, and she understands what it means to be performing in front of people. She loves that as well. So what's interesting though is that we met right before my last fight, and we've actually never been in a relationship while I've been in a training camp. And I, although I was in relationships in training camps previously, it's always been very much a solo journey, and now she makes my life a lot easier. So I think it'd be a much more enjoyable process, and I think she would see a different side of me. So whether she'd like that side of me or not, I don't know. But most people tend to not.
Are we going to? I know recently you did a show with John Anik. We actually spoke to John Gooden was in studio last week here, so it's fun that we're now talking to you the following week. And I was talking to him about, like, did he sort of feel a little jealous that he was there, but he couldn't work with you? And to his credit, he said yes, which I give him a lot of credit for saying that. Are we going to start to see you do more shows? Because I think it's crazy that you guys as a team only did 3. Because I think I love, like, Anik, Stan, Cormier, Cruz. You guys are amazing. I wish there were more shows for just you guys to work on. My point is, as a team, you only got 3, and now it seems like they're branching you off to do more of the North American shows, so to speak, the television shows. Is that going to come with the new contract as well?
As far as I understand, yes. It's been spoken about getting me over to the US and putting me in the cycle of commentators over there. Obviously, I think John has a very bright future in the sport, because what a lot of people don't understand is the 2 roles of commentary. You know, Goldie is the play-by-play guy, which obviously John Anik has now picked up the mantle and is doing amazing work. I loved working with him in Melbourne. It was a real honour for me. And I think John Gooden obviously is excellent at the job as well. And there are so few people that can do that job. It's such a difficult job to do, to prepare for it, get all the cards and all the different sponsorship reads. I would hate to do that job. I would sink straight away. Whereas obviously my job, there are a lot of people that are very good at it. You know, obviously Kenny Florian and Brian Stan have been doing it for a while, and now we've got Dominic Cruz and DC as well, who are both very talented and very knowledgeable. And I think we all bring a different flavour to commentary. We've all got different eyes and different experiences that we can commentate through. So it's been spoken about getting me over into the US group of commentators and doing more work maybe for Fox as well, which I'd love to do. I miss being in the US. I spent a lot of time there over the past decade, and I'd like to get some more TV time over there.
And with the new book coming out, did you write this yourself?
Yes, I've had the assistance of a ghostwriter.
Okay.
With it being autobiographical, it was a very difficult process to start. And I've got about 4 books that I've been writing over the past 5 years that are not quite finished, and they all felt like they needed kind of a base to start with, which would be autobiographical, obviously. And someone came to me and offered me the opportunity, and put forward a great ghostwriter who's a very respected boxing journalist called Paul Gibson.
Okay.
And we've worked very closely together over the past 6 months and had a lot of deep conversations. It's been very, very ceremonial, a lot like ayahuasca at times, to be honest. Going back through old memories and digging out old photos, and Paul's been a great help. I couldn't have done this one on my own. But the next book, whenever that is, will be written solely by me.
So this is your entire life story, thus far?
Well, I hope so. I hope not. I mean, yeah.
Well, but when does it end?
Yeah. It ends right now. It ends right now.
Oh wow!
I have the last page of the book in front of me. Well, behind my Skype screen, finishing off.
Wait, so the book? What you're telling me is the book ends with this interview on my show, the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani. That's how it ends. That's an incredible ending. I am honored. Thank you, Dan. But no, you talk about everything from a kid up until this point in your life, and the title. Forgive me, the word reptile is in the title. I saw that, and by the way, very shrewd on your part to pin the tweet. Now that you got all this newfound attention from the Mickey Gall call out, I thought that was a very smart move. All these people coming to your Twitter, let them know about your new book. Did you do that on purpose? Be honest.
You know, I actually didn't. I've had my editor's been on my case for about a week.
Oh wow.
Announce the book, and I was going to come on your show last week, so I thought that'd be the perfect time to mention it the first time, and he was on me this weekend, so I thought, okay, I'll tweet it out while the fights are on and see if anybody notices. And yeah, it just so happened that Mickey helped me with that promotion, so I appreciate him for that.
Why is the word reptile in the title? And tell us the title as well, so people can search it.
The book's called Part Reptile, and it's obviously, I'm sure people have heard me saying, referring to people as full reptile in commentary. I talk about it specifically with people that they engage a part of their brain which allows them to effectively be a passenger in the fight. Wanderlei Silva is the first one that always comes to mind. Ramon Dekkers as well. If you look at his eyes in a fight, he's switched off. He's reptilian. He's in attack mode. And I've found that very fascinating. And it's something that I came to understand and communicate with much better as my career developed. And part of the reason why I'd like to get back in there is to explore it a little more. But it's basically my story from birth all the way through my martial arts career, understanding what I wanted out of martial arts and the different influences outside of my life, the troubles that I had, and then basically into mixed martial arts and my journey through, and coming to understand the person that I was as a fighter as well as an adult. When I hit that age, and then the processes of exploring myself through various different means. Obviously, trips I took to say China or Peru or the boat race, these kind of things that have taught me about things, in my life, taught me about the person that I am. And it's just kind of my story, So if anybody out there is relating to the stories in it, then it'd be nice to connect with those people. But I'm certainly understanding things about myself that I'd like to share, and I think are very interesting. And a part of that is to do with my understanding of fighting and how the reptilian brain plays a big part in that.
Oh yeah, what a story! I remember when you did the prime time with GSP, and we learned more about you living with the monks. And I'll never forget when you came on this program right after the race. I think you were in Brazil. And you were almost exasperated. We couldn't see you, unfortunately, but you were kind of out of breath because it was such a life-altering experience. I'll never forget that. So I think that's a must-read, and you could get it on Amazon, correct? Right?
Yeah, it's on pre-order now. Okay. It will be released on March 23rd. So I'll be doing some sign-ins with it and that kind of thing. I don't know the details of the entire release at the moment, but as and when the information comes to me, I'll be putting it out. But yeah, it's up on Amazon now, and the front cover's there and everything. So it's
a real thing. I also had Ant Evans, who who's another Brit, part of the UFC, who's like, oh yeah, I'm working for Fight Pass, and we've got a new season of Where Are They Now, which is a great series. They've done 2, and we've got all these people on it, and Dan Hardy's a part of it. And I was like, what, Dan Hardy? I know exactly where Dan Hardy is. I mean, I see him on TV. I see him on these YouTube things inside the Octagon. I mean, I'm pretty certain I've been up to speed with Dan Hardy. How did you get into the Where Are They Now category? Because the other people, I don't know where they are. I definitely know where you are.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It made no sense to me. They contacted me and they said, because I know the guys that filmed it, I worked with them on Breakdown and a few other shows, and so we're very familiar. And he called me up and he said, look, this may sound a bit strange, but they want to do a Where Are They Now show on you. So I thought, well, I don't think anybody that's on Fight Pass is confused as to whereabouts I am. Fair enough, people got to see a little bit of the inside of my house and my wife training and stuff, so that was cool. But it was nice. It was a nice thing to do. It's nice to log on to Fight Pass and see my face on the front for occasionally.
It is good to educate the newer fans as well. 2 last quick things. Do you have a dream fight? Like, if you had one more, do you have an opponent?
No, not really. I can't think about it or talk about it until I know that it's a possibility.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, there are certain people that come to mind. I have a pencil scribbling on my wall in my gym at home of a few names. But, but by the time I get to this stage, all those names might have changed or shifted, or so it's all speculation until then. There's no point in thinking about it.
Can I, because you're so good at breaking this stuff down, and the next big show is 207, am I stepping on toes if I ask you who you think is going to win in the main event, Ronda Rousey, Amanda Nunes?
I'm not going to give a prediction either way, but I'll certainly give you what I see in the fight. I mean, the interesting thing is Ronda's mindset. You've got to think she's been away for some time, and the last time she stepped onto that canvas, it was a very traumatic experience for her, which has been relived over and over again. And it was interesting. The early adverts for the fight also showed the knockout, which now they don't. You know what I mean? And it raised a lot of questions as to where Ronda is psychologically. Now, if she comes in absolutely fierce and tries to bully Amanda Nunes early on, then it may go her way again. She may be able to overwhelm Amanda Nunes. But if she comes in timid and allows Amanda to find the rhythm and start letting her hands go, then every time she locks up, Amanda's going to be prepared to defend that takedown, and that's when Ronda's going to start to struggle. It's imperative that she comes in with confidence, and if she doesn't, that's when the tides are going to turn for her.
All right,
and that's the question. Yeah. We just don't know. We don't know where our confidence is at.
It's always fascinating when you are asked to break down a fight, and the crux of your breakdown has nothing to do with actual fighting technique. It's all about the mindset. Those are the most interesting fights to me, because you really don't know what you can get. I mean, you could break things down on paper all day, but when you don't know how a fighter is going to respond. To me, the most interesting thing about combat sports is seeing how a former champion responds in their first fight back. Do they become better? Are they still harping on it? And she's had so much pressure on her this past year. I think you nailed it. I also think, by the way, before I let you go, I always really enjoy your post-fight interviews. I feel like sometimes those are kind of a lost art in our game, and I don't know. Obviously the famous one is the Conor one. Not here to take part. You'll be immortalized with that one. But there's something about the rapport that you have with the fighters, how you let them speak, how you let them speak to the crowd. I thought Brian Stan did a fantastic job with Uriah Faber on Saturday. Didn't make it about himself, just gave him the floor, and I think you do a great job of that as well. So kudos to you. I'm happy for all your success commentating the new book, March 23rd. And if you have some news to break in January with some good news. You got many outlets, I know. I know we got TKO with John Gooden. We got many outlets, but please, we'd love to speak to you again as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. It's always good to speak to you, my friend. I appreciate the work you're doing in the sport.
Thank you. All the best to Dan Hardy. Appreciate his time as well. Definitely check out his Inside the Octagon with Mr. John Gooden. We had him last week on the program as well, breaking down UFC 207. A lot going on in the Outlaw's life, and kind of fun that he was back in the news, although, it seems like he kind of gave young Mickey Gall the Heisman stiff arm. Mr. New York Rick, are you there? It's always a beat. It's always like where he's in Fallujah.
I mean, it's almost like we've described this to you before. That it doesn't happen that quick.
It's like I'm doing CNN.
Down,
but you know what's wrapping up. I'm going to go to you, and it's always just a beat too late.
If there was a button that I could just shut down the entire system and it worked that way, I would love to, but it doesn't. Okay. But the answer is I'm here.
There you are. There's a lot that I need to ask you about.
Hit me.
This guy. First.
Yeah.
The Mickey Gall, Dan Hardy thing. Do we feel bad for Mickey? Did we like it? Just I don't know. Did Mr. Hardy kind of crush his dream?
I don't think he feels bad. Why would he feel bad?
No, I know. I was feeling a little more. And again, this is me sort of getting older in age, but I don't know. Mickey, I felt like he came up with his hands up this time. I mean, maybe he didn't like. It can't always be praise. I mean, I feel like I praised him a lot this year. I just thought it was a swing and a miss. And look, I was proven to be right.
Yeah, but I agree with you on that front, but I don't think Mickey's too down about it. I think he's moving on.
Yeah.
And the call out for Dan Hardy, as he described, it was a thing that he saw him fight. It was the first live event, and it was a respectful thing. Or no, he didn't say it was his first live event. He saw that was one of the live events he went to was Hardy versus GC.
I think it was first live UFC.
Oh yeah. So then there you go.
UFC 111.
So I don't think it was going to be too contentious. I think that went about as it's going to go. And kudos to Hardy. He handled that like a pro as well.
Yeah, Hardy's the man.
He's great.
Okay, this is what I want to talk to you about right off the top here.
Yeah.
UFC 207, Ronda Rousey's return.
Mm-hmm.
He alluded to it a little bit. Got a lot of attention when Joe Rogan, who was just sitting at home, said he thinks it's a little whack, a little bizarre, I think was the word that he used, that it's all focused on Ronda Rousey, the promo, right? And
Sure.
I don't remember if we talked about the promo on this show last week, but when I was going to Toronto, someone tweeted to me saying, like, what do you think of this amazing 207 promo? Because it came out on the Wednesday before I was going to Toronto. And I just wrote back to him, personally, like I didn't retweet it and make a big thing about it. I said I didn't think it was that good. I thought it was derivative. I thought it was too one-sided. I thought it was a little, silly to just focus, on proving the critics wrong. It's all about proving the critics wrong and doing this for everyone who stood by me. And it just felt a little too heavy. And most importantly, it did not feature the champion. And I know this story is about Ronda Rousey, and I know she's the biggest draw, and I know everyone wants to see her come back, and I know this is one of the biggest stories of the year. But what made the UFC 193 promo so great with her and Holly Holm was it was balanced. We learned about Ronda, we learned about Holly, and I think to a degree the payoff was when Holly won, people were a lot more invested in her, and it felt like a bigger deal. If Amanda wins, she's kind of just the no-name champion because up until now, and I was kind of trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, I thought, okay, maybe they'd come out with the Ronda promo first and then the Amanda promo. It doesn't look like, at least as of right now, that they have the Amanda promo, and the clock is ticking. So my question to you is, do you agree with me, Joe Rogan, others who say that this is a little too one-sided, that yes, the story is Ronda, but it does take two to tango, and in order for this fight to feel big, you need to pay a little more attention to the champion Amanda Nunes?
I don't have a problem with it from a promotional perspective.
Okay.
I think focusing on Ronda Rousey is the money, and that's where it's at. And
100% though?
Well, here's what I think. Beyond just, I don't have a problem with it promotionally. I think it's okay. But there's two things. One, should Amanda win, you've not set her up well. The entirety of the promo is supposing that this is Ronda Rousey's comeback. Well, the end of that comeback may end in Amanda winning, and therefore the story that is being conveyed here isn't quite a complete narrative. It doesn't pivot nicely. Should Amanda win, that's the ending that you're not getting a glimpse of in this promo. But I just think more than anything, the irony of the entire thing, it can't be lost in the fact that the story that they're portraying is that there was all this pressure and buildup on Ronda Rousey's shoulders, and then she failed spectacularly, and now she's coming back. When now the promo for her next fight is entirely focused on her. It's all on her shoulders. Once again, it's a repeat of what we were seeing. The promo itself is speaking truth to power, is a narrative that describes exactly what we're getting again. In that all the promotion, all the pressure, everything is falling squarely on Ronda Rousey's shoulders, in a way that I think it's clear at this point she's not entirely comfortable with. So I don't understand it from that perspective. I can't imagine she's, thrilled about the idea that the promo, rests entirely there. But in terms of, let's look at what's going to, draw people in. I don't think adding Amanda to the promo is necessarily going to, get it more attention or anything like that. It serves the same purpose. But would I have personally liked to see it? Yeah, but that's because I know the story, I'm familiar with it. But if somebody's just watching this, I think the comeback of Ronda Rousey is the main storyline for sure, and it doesn't really need to convey anything more than that.
But if you had, let's say you had a 4-minute promo, and then the last 30 seconds, the music stops, and then you see this killer, and you show her knocking people out, or you show her in the gym. I mean, what she's done in her UFC career is pretty darn impressive. What she did on the biggest stage, arguably this year, 200, darn impressive. A little bit of that would be nice, because people would be like, oh, smack, Ronda Rousey's coming back, and she's fighting this killer in her return? Holy moly, I got to watch this. It's not just about her fighting a nobody. That's very, I don't know. It's like, if you were going to do that, why even put her in the title fight? Just put her against a nobody.
The story of Ronda Rousey and her entire rise was that she was destroying people and dominating people. Introducing the idea that she may lose is not necessarily consistent with that. That's not what drew people in initially. That's not what got the fans that hadn't been tuning in previously to now tune in. Ronda Rousey's dominance was what got them in. And if the story that they're telling is she's coming back and she's going to dominate again, introducing Amanda into that storyline may not necessarily be what the people who had once followed along want to see. It may be that redemption, and it may be better to kind of sweep that away to get them back. I understand, but I understand what you're saying.
It's just so easy, though, right?
And
it's just a few more seconds
with that, but that's because I know this story. I know that Amanda is dangerous. I know that this is a potentially dangerous.
Amanda has a great backstory as well, though. I mean,
I'm completely with you, but I don't think that casual fans necessarily may want to know or may identify with that. They care about this Ronda Rousey show continuing, and
totally.
her getting back on track, and this storyline completely ignoring the idea that she will get back on track may be the best thing.
I'm not trying to be some hipster MMA fan and be like, what about Amanda Nunes?
Right,
She's
I understand.
So good. I just feel like the best fights, I mean, look at this Cruz Garbrandt fight. The best fights are when there's some sort of connection between the two. Right now, they feel like two separate entities, right? And there needs to be like those Venn diagrams, those things that we learned in school. There needs to be this connection between the two. And now the only connection that we have is this awkward, stare down after the weigh-ins in New York, and then she walks off. There has to be some sort of conflict. There has to be something there. I know Amanda's doing some PR, some media in LA, so maybe more of that will come out, and maybe this is good. Like, she'll talk about getting, no respect and things like that. I also find, I don't know if you read this ESPN.com or ESPN the magazine profile by Ramona Shelburne, who is really the only media member right now that has access to Ronda. And oh, by the way, I've tried to get members of Ronda's team on this program and talk to them, and what I was told was that there's essentially like a moratorium on anyone associated with her to speak, which is, to me, unprecedented. I've never been told, like, we're not allowed to talk before this fight. And I don't know what that says going into it. And I think I can't wait to see the media schedule for 207 and see what she, has on her plate. But I thought the most interesting part of that Ramona Shelburne profile was Ronda continuing to say, like, I forget what the acronym was, like F everyone or F them all, FTA. And her mom, of all people, who's been the straightest of shooters throughout this story, saying that's a stupid reason to fight. Like it shouldn't be about proving people wrong or effing them all or proving the doubters wrong. That's not why you fight. And I feel like this promo is highlighting that. It's like, it's all about proving them wrong, proving that. Who doubted Ronda Rousey? Who, after her loss to Holly Holm, said that she was a fake, said that she was undeserving of all the hype, said that, we were conned into believing in her? Like, who said that? All we said was, that was an amazing fight. It was an incredible knockout. Holy crap, that was the upset of the year. It was the knockout of the year. But no one took shots at her. And I feel like they're creating this fictitious narrative that we all tried to bring her down. Like, I don't know. I can't speak to the Stephen A's of the world because I'm not watching those shows. But to the true people that understood what happened that night, I don't feel like anyone was disrespectful towards her. Am I wrong?
I don't know about disrespectful, but I think you're grouping everybody together in one category, whereas I'm sure she did get some of that.
Of course, but I'm talking about the real educated people. Like, if your motivation is to prove the Twitter trolls wrong, then really, I mean, okay, now we really need to start thinking about things.
It's hard to separate that when you're being bombarded by it.
I know.
It's hard to say, oh, well, this person has a legitimate beef and this person doesn't. It's the same reason you fire off a 3 a.m. tweet to somebody if they say, well, I hate you, and you respond to them. There's a human instinct factor here, and I think Ronda Rousey has been dealing with some of this. There were people who were waiting for her to fall. Were it the people that matter? Were it people who have a legitimate opinion on this and whose viewpoint should be respected? Likely not. But it's hard to separate those when you're in a vulnerable place. And I think you're right that anybody with a legitimate platform is able to frame this properly. But I don't know how easy it is to separate that out. But I agree with you that, I think she's the betting favorite coming into this fight, first of all. But second of all, I think that, the narrative here is much more interesting now that she has faced some adversity. I just think that she probably did get a lot of negative response. And it may have been from, anonymous trolls in their basement, but I can't imagine it was easy.
Absolutely not. I mean, it was probably hellacious, and she alluded to that on the Ellen show. Make no mistake about it, this is a beautifully shot promo. Mm-hmm. I think that our bar is so low when it comes to UFC promos because it's typically just a bunch of yelling and old footage. They actually took the time to, make a story here and shoot it well. I mean, it looks like a Hollywood production. I just feel like why I call it derivative and formulaic, I feel like it was expected. If you maybe turned the tables on us and showed her, in a good place, and look, this is just me, she is who she is, so I'm not trying to make her something she's not, but I feel like everyone expected that, like, oh, mad, this and that, and if you maybe came out with a little smile and say, I'm back or something like that, I feel like it would have gone such a long way. And I'm curious to see what happens. I mean, how do people respond to this promo? How do people respond to her return? Is she as big of a star as she was a year ago? How do they respond to a UFC pay-per-view on Friday? That's a gamble in its own right. How do they respond to her not fighting Holly Holm or Miesha Tate, people that they know, an unknown that as of now, they haven't done a great job of building up. This pay-per-view buy rate is going to be fascinating because that they not only need it to be good, because it's been talked about at length, ad nauseum, that they need to start making money and continue to have a good year. But the truth is they need Ronda Rousey back. I mean, they need her for more than just this one fight. I mean, there's a lot riding on this particular fight. It is directly related to the reason why they're doing this 145-pound title in February. They need her to come back. They need the Holly Holm rematch. This can't be one and done for Ronda. And yeah, this is an incredibly important night for the UFC and its new owners, who, oh, by the way, happen to represent Ronda Rousey as well.
There you go.
WME. How do you feel about the decision to introduce this 145-pound women's featherweight title without Chris Cyborg?
You can't do it without Chris Cyborg. It's the wrong move.
It's crazy.
Chris Cyborg is 145 pounds. This has been the story that we've been talking about forever. And now you're introducing the title without her. I don't understand it.
It's mind-boggling.
There's almost not a justification you could give me that makes sense.
So they say, oh, she wasn't ready, this and that.
So wait.
You got to wait. And
Chris Cyborg.
What does it say about the state of the UFC that they feel like they have to introduce this on this particular card, which as of right now only has one title fight? Mm-hmm. Because I've tried to get an update on the Max Holloway, Jose Aldo situation. As of last week, Aldo saying, I'm fighting on this card. And Holloway saying he wants brunch. Now, he didn't specify if he wants eggs Benedict or, salmon Benedict. I think that's called Norwegian Benedict or Canadian bacon. He didn't specify, but he wants brunch. And you know what? He's entitled to brunch. But what does it say about the UFC that they felt the need, because no other title fights were available, that they had to create this belt, this division?
Is creating a belt something new for?
No, but is it? I don't know. Is it concerning?
No.
Is it troubling?
Again, we've talked about this at various times throughout this year and even last year. This is a sign of the times. I mean, it's a continuation of what we've already seen. Max Holloway and Anthony Pettis had a belt fabricated for them. Why is this so surprising.
It's one thing to create a belt like an interim title or to strip someone and give it to champion, whatever. It's another to create a division because now you're stuck with the division.
They're as stuck as any other promotion would be with a 145-pound division.
But this is the UFC, and the two people fighting for the 145-pound title are bantamweights who have had success
you'll
at bantamweight.
Recall that they did this with Ronda Rousey, and it has worked out successfully.
No, but Ronda Rousey was a 135er. Like, they created the division for her.
Yeah,
what are they creating?
They're creating this division for Cyborg.
But that's my question. I don't think they are.
I mean, I think they are, and I think they're just trying to play hardball at this point. And
gosh, I would not be shocked. Now, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I would not be shocked if Cyborg never fights for the 145-pound title.
Oh boy, that would be.
I mean, okay, think of it this way. You heard Mike Winkeljohn. Holly Holm wins that belt. You think she wants to fight Cyborg or Ronda?
No, clearly she's going to want to fight Ronda. That's the money fight. That's where it's at.
I don't know, man. I think it's... And who else? Look, it's one thing to create the division and create it because you got the queen of the featherweights, right? You've got the most dominant. I mean, you could build her up into just an absolute superstar because she is a superstar, in my opinion. And her ratings on FS1 for the last fight against a no-name in Lena Landsberg, again, just an opponent, would reflect that. I totally get. I mean, they should have done it when she came into the UFC. She should have been.
I think they are building this for her. Okay, I think they've done it in a convoluted way.
It's okay to do it, and maybe that's true, but it's okay to do it if she's fighting, Darren Dami, Zingano, whatever, at 145. But to have just two non-145ers fight, who knows what can happen to Cyborg? Who knows? It's like it gives me a headache. It actually gives me a headache trying to make sense of this one.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're a fan, again, as we've been talking about, like we are moving further and further away from sport. It's all about entertainment. It's all about selling pay-per-views. It's all about eyeballs. And that, at the end of the day, has always been what combat sports is about. But they, I think, in the last 10 years have done a nice job of blending the two in. And I feel like we're moving away from it. I feel like we're just doing meritocracy be damned, deserving or not be damned, number one contender or not be damned. What can we do at all costs to sell pay-per-views? That's a dangerous game to play.
I think we've been on this train for a long time.
Gosh, it's never been more evident than now, though, right?
It will continue to get more evident. Next move will be another move in that direction. No surprise there.
All right.
Yes. Few questions. How about that?
No, I have some more questions for you.
Oh, hit me. Let's go.
Did you see the Bernard Hopkins knockout?
I did.
Did you feel like it was weird to watch that on the night that Uriah Faber retired?
No.
Did you see a connection between the two?
No.
You didn't see a connection? One guy knowing when to say when, the other guy not?
No, because...
One guy doing it in his hometown, the other guy not? You didn't see any kind of correlation?
Like Hopkins, to this point, has shown signs where it's like, oh, I'm really worried about Bernard Hopkins. I wasn't really worried about Bernard Hopkins going into that fight. I think it was just, a weird circumstance. He got hit through the ropes and unfortunate way to wrap up a career. I can imagine he's happy about that. But it wasn't a situation where I was... I was scared for what's going to happen to Bernard Hopkins.
No, not scared, but to have one guy on Fox win in his final fight in his hometown against, a good opponent for him, and the other guy to fight, in Inglewood in front of a small crowd and get knocked out of the... it was just...
The promotional side of it, yes, but... I think the idea of Uriah knew when to retire at the right time and Bernard didn't know when to that's not an equivalency. I don't see the...
What do you mean? One guy retired at 51, the other guy retired at what, like 37, 38?
He retired at 51 doing it. Bernard Hopkins is a game fighter still at this point.
So is Faber.
And that's what I'm saying. The narrative isn't Bernard Hopkins, oh, what an unfortunate end to his career. It was one fight that the outcome was a little bit weird. But it wasn't
super weird to end like that.
It wasn't like if that had cruised to a decision where he lost, would we be going, "Oh, poor Bernard Hopkins"?
It's not about poor. It just it jumped out at me, as I'm going to bed and I see this clip and I'm like, "Wow, here's Faber, who we are celebrating for again knowing when to say when, and gets to walk out on his own terms."
But that's what I'm saying.
And here's another guy who doesn't. It kind of bummed me out. I feel like Bernard Hopkins deserved better than that. That's all.
Yes, that I'll agree with. But I think it's circumstance more so than it wasn't like a guy who was continually being put away and then he got put away again and we said, oh, enough of that. Hopkins, it was a weird one. It was just weird.
It was also weird. people asking Uriah Faber after his fight if he wants a job with the UFC, like in this ambassador role. First, I mean, I feel like those days are over now that Chuck and Matt Hughes lost a job. But if you've listened to Uriah, like, do you really?
Got 100 things.
The guy is like Mr. Entrepreneur. Do you think he really wants to show up, for the UFC, making, God knows how little, this ambassador role? I mean, come on. Have we not been paying attention? What is this?
Yeah.
That was bizarre. It was great that they showed his walkout. Love that they did that. Great job, Fox, UFC. It was cool when they asked all the guys their favorite moments, although there were some weird ones. His loss to Aldo.
Yeah.
DC going with the California love. I mean, come on, DC. You could do better than that. You could think, can we get a moment? Can we get a fight here? Do you got anything?
Oh, do I have one?
Yeah.
It was both fights with Pulver for me because just at the time, those felt like the biggest fights. And
New Channel versus Sacramento.
Yeah, I would say, although I would say, to be fair to anybody who picked, the Aldo fight, the situation, the circumstance there felt big, but obviously you would like to think that a win for the guy would be one of his more shining moments. But I do understand the
sentiment,
the circumstances,
about his toughness.
yeah, around
even
that
the Mike Brown fight, broke his two hands fighting with his freaking elbows towards the end of the fight. That was bizarre. I mean, not bizarre, incredibly. I mean, it was unique.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it. He was tough. He was tough.
But for me, yeah, it's the fights with Jens Pulver.
A lot was made of like, Paige and Sage losing on the same night, this blowing up in the UFC's face.
Mm-hmm.
I view them separate at this point. Like, I don't view them as a tandem.
Well,
and I don't feel like Paige and Sage losing is a bad night for the UFC because of who they lost to. Mickey Gall and Michelle Waterson are very marketable, and maybe they went about it in a different way, and they're not squeaky clean as far as like looking like they're from Saved by the Bell. But if you can't market Mickey Gall and Michelle Waterson, then I don't know what you're doing. Like, I feel like this idea that people are putting out that this was like a horrible night for the UFC is totally off.
No, perhaps not a horrible night, and I definitely agree with that because you can, repackage this again. But are we going to get the same result? Is it too soon? Is it too much too soon? Do they need to kind of take a step back and, recalculate how they're pushing them and against which opponents and things like that?
I mean, if Sage is not going to beat Mickey Gall is 3-0. It's not like he's some veteran of the sport.
There's ways, stylistically you can do favorable matchups. Mickey Gall was a guy who was going to beat Sage Northcutt.
Well, let's be fair. I mean, I think when people first found out about this fight, no one was saying like, "Oh, this would be a horrible idea for Sage."
No, because there's
the only thing I didn't like was 170.
Gold.
Yeah.
B, because Mickey is still an unknown, but I think he showed in this fight what where he kind of stands. But at this point, he was an unknown coming into this fight. There wasn't the two guys that he had fought to this point hadn't fought in the UFC previously. Sage Northcutt has, and it gave him a kind of a measuring stick at this point. But I think stylistically, that's a tough matchup, and there's probably a way you could more favorably match him. But also, he's in the co-main event. Is it too much? Are they pushing too hard? Does it need to be drawn back?
Yeah, I don't know. I think having Michelle win like that, especially with the documentary coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, she should be pushed to the moon. She really should. She's a star waiting to happen, and I think Mickey Gall is fantastic as well, especially because he beat CM Punk. Not a bad night. People are going to lose. People are going to win. People are going to lose. Not every time Paige and Sage lose do we have to go through this whole like, blew up in the UFC's face. I think they're fully aware and ready for the reality that they may lose. Okay, let's take some questions.
We answered most of them already.
Okay.
In the course of this,
because I got more for you.
Let me ask this one question, and we can get to that. Post-fight press conferences have gone the way of one-on-one versus an entire dais. You love it.
Adore it.
Can you explain a little bit why that's preferable?
It's preferable for several reasons. First of all, take Toronto, for example, because I was there. You bring out Cerrone, you get 10 minutes with him. You bring out Gaslam, you get 10 minutes with him. You bring out Cub Swanson, you get 10 minutes with him. You bring out Max Holloway. Now we could focus on each guy, and it could almost be like a scrum/interview. Before, they all come out at the same time, inevitably, someone was going to be ignored. There's just not enough time to speak to everyone, and especially when there's a big main event, the guy a little lower down on the card is just not going to get that many questions. So I think that it's good for the fighters. They get more attention. You can talk to them more. It's good for the media because you can just focus on one guy at a time. And I kind of feel like the press conferences now, there are some times where the press conferences have been gold. And I'm not talking about pre-fight press conferences. I'm talking about the post-fight ones. Like, I don't know, when there's an exchange, like a Bisping Rockhold one, although that one was a little weird because there was some, slurs being used or whatever. But I just feel like they got a little bit stale. And especially, Dana's not coming out anymore, and that's fine. I can live with that. That's the direction that they're going in. I like the fact that it's focused on one guy at a time. I think I just think it's better for building the fighters and getting to know them a little more after the fights. I can't really understand why no one likes why anyone wouldn't like that.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing a lot of people actually prefer,
you know what,
at least in terms of the fans, asking for the
UFC fans are a creature of habit. They're weird. They don't like change. I mean, anytime they change something subtly,
I think we're all that way. I'm not one who's want to change, but the new post-fight press conference, I'm very okay with it. I like to hear from people individually.
Another thing, by the way, they would wait for, like when Fox is there, they send them up to the desk and they would wait for all the people to come back usually, and that would delay things. So here, the second we sit down, there's usually someone up there who fought maybe like third or fourth on the card. And so I think things move a little quicker as well. It reminds me of like the NBA playoffs. When the Thunder play the Warriors, you don't have Westbrook and Steven Adams and Durant and, Cantor. You don't have them all sitting up there. They bring out one at a time. And sometimes you'll have two guys who want to come up, like when Wade and LeBron were doing it and things like that. But usually you have one guy, you focus on him, and then you go to the next one. And I like that. So it kind of reminds me of how they do it in the NBA and other sports.
What else you got?
Oh, that's it. Just one question about the press conferences.
Well, we kind of hit on the rest already.
Sure.
We've been talking for 20 minutes. Come on.
I noted on Saturday, and I don't mean to harp on this, but I do think it's a massive story. I noted on Saturday that it has now been, on Saturday, it had been a week since Bjorn Rebney last tweeted. Now it's been, let me just make sure here, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Now it's been 9 days since he last tweeted. Is this a coincidence, or do you think that something happened?
I know nothing, so.
No, what do you think? I mean, all of a sudden, the guy comes out, guns blazing, Twitter, retweeting everything, talking about everything, and then all of a sudden he goes dark? Come on.
Going dark is in his nature.
I texted Tim Kennedy, and I was like, hey, what's going on with the tweets? How come, all of a sudden Bjorn is a lot quieter on social media? Is it because of some of the things that you and Donald and others have said? And he sent me back that emoji with the guy wearing the geeky guy wearing the sunglasses. I don't even know what that means. Like, how do you decipher that? What does that even mean?
I don't know what that means, but there's just been a lot less activity in general, though, about the Fighter Association.
Well,
made a big splash.
That's fine.
No,
but I feel like it was the big talking point after was Bjorn. He's being criticized. People are saying that they're not joining it, and then all of a sudden he just stops talking. I think maybe they won't admit it, but I think it says to us that, look, maybe we shouldn't have come out so strong with him. Fine to be an advisor, fine to say we need a promoter on the board, but to have him there front and center at the conference call, to have him in the pictures, have him, maybe in hindsight, they miscalculated just how the MMA community at large feels about him. That's what it says to me. Maybe there's another reason for it. I've tried to find out that reason, but until told otherwise, it's a little surprising, or maybe not surprising. It's notable, I should say, that he came out so strong afterwards, and now he hasn't said a word in 9 days.
Mexico.
Angela Hill is getting royally screwed here.
I agree completely.
Angela Hill was supposed to fight Jessica Andrade. They had Marina Moroz fight Jessica Andrade. Moroz is out. They tap Angela Hill, who's the Invicta strawweight champion, correct? And then they say she's out because she needs to be in the USADA testing pool for 4 months. This makes no sense to me. Angela Hill is a former UFC fighter. She was through this. I understand the idea, we don't want someone leaving the UFC and juicing up, but that it kind of feels like everyone should be playing by those rules. If you don't want someone, if you want someone to go through this stringent testing before fighting the UFC, everyone it doesn't matter where you fought in the past. It should be all or nothing. And I feel like the UFC shouldn't be even, reaching out to her if they knew that this was an issue. Of course, it was made famous by the Brock Lesnar situation. They waived it for him. They're not doing it for her. And it's just, you saw how emotional she was on Twitter. If you did see it, it's just a crummy situation. I feel for her. Sucks. What do you think? Are you still there?
I'm still there.
Do you think that...
What, you thought you went so long that all of a sudden I disappear?
Well, I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm not getting anything.
I'm not. I'm not going anywhere.
3 hours and 45 minutes here, for God's sakes. Do you think it should be waived? And also, can I get a little more volume in the headphones? I feel like I'm dying out here. Are you guys trying to send me a signal here? Are you going to play the music like the Oscars? We're off next week. Okay, let's break the news. Our streak is ending next week. I'm very upset about it. 51 straight weeks, and on the last weekend of the year, we can't do a show. The last week of the year. Why is this? Explain to me.
People need to be with their families, Ari.
No one needs to be with their families. I won't stand for it. 51 straight weeks we did this show. We almost had a full calendar year. I canceled my vacation.
People need to be with their families.
So what's happening next week?
We're doing a special show.
We're doing a special show. Don't tell them just yet, but it's a special show. It's not a best of show, but it's a special kind of show.
It's a special...
But it's not live.
No,
we
it will
are
not be
giving you
live.
a show.
But we are giving you a show. That's right.
And we are coming back on January 2nd for our award show.
That's right. My favorite show of the year.
Which they also tried to take away from me, by the way. They wanted us to come on Tuesday, and I said I will not have it. Why is January 2nd a holiday now? I thought it was the 1st.
They're both Listen, Ebenezer. We have to...
Look at Miles back there. He's half asleep, for God's sakes.
He's begging. He's begging you to be with his family on Christmas. Yeah, we're gonna bring a special show.
Is there a plane flying over there? What is happening?
I don't know what that is. It's the heating. But we're gonna do a special show for everybody next week. We're not revealing the details yet, but I hope you'll like it. And then we're gonna do our awards very start of next year.
I might do. They have Instagram Live now. Mm-hmm. And they also have Twitter Live. Everyone's in the live.
Are you going to invite me over and do it, or are you just going to do it by yourself?
I might do it at a protest on Monday of next week at 1 o'clock and just answer questions like this. I might even conduct interviews with my son, Oliver. Walter might show up as well. Maybe Claire.
Dang.
The whole family might do it together. I mean, it's December 26th, 1 day after Christmas. Why not?
Yeah, and I guess why not? Ariel can't stand to spend time with his family, so he needs to make a show.
That is not true. Okay, let's wrap up all the news. King Mo fighting in Dublin. Did you see this card?
I did. I didn't see the card, but I saw the news that he'll be fighting.
Just tell the people you don't watch Bellator anymore. Tell them you hate it. You don't have time for them. Go ahead.
I don't watch Bellator anymore.
Why? Tell us why. Break some news for us. Why does New York...
Is that breaking news?
Yes, it is big news.
First of all, I don't have cable anymore. That's a big...
You're one of these? You're one of these cord cutter guys?
Oh, yeah. Big time.
What kind of message?
What kind of message is that sending?
Yes.
That I don't want to pay Time Warner $10 billion to watch live sports, because that's literally all I watch at this point.
So how do you watch live sports?
I have apps. Fox Sports app.
What? You can watch the whole thing on that?
Yeah.
Fox Sports Go?
Yeah.
You can watch the entire card on your telephone or computer?
Yeah, I did it. I do it all the time. Wait, you're just knowing this?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
you can watch it all on your app.
I mean, I like to pretend that one day I'll have a career on television. I want to support television products.
Oh, you're supporting it all right. Lots of money for nothing.
So you go out of your way not to watch Bellator because you don't like the product, what they stand for, and the fighters.
Sure.
One of the great things that Scott Coker used to do in Strikeforce was, like, I went to one of his shows. I think it was headlined by Babalu. No, it was Babalu versus Bobby Southworth. It was a Strikeforce light heavyweight title before they were on Showtime. And I went to cover this card, and then the fight ends, and it was a fight that no one really cared about. It was on HDNet. And then this 1-0 against an 0-1 fighter. Like, these two guys came in who had a kickboxing background, and they they're draws in the Bay Area, and they come out, and the place explodes. And it wasn't on television. It was like a dark fight, but it was the main event. And I feel like they kind of dropped the ball on this one, because I heard that people were leaving the 3 Arena in Dublin because it was headlined by King Mo versus Satoshi Ishii, who aren't draws, but you had like James Gallagher and all these other Irish up-and-comers and guys from SBG. I don't know why Scott went away from, his bread and butter. You got to put the big draw on at the end so that people don't leave in the middle of the main event between the two foreign guys who have no connection to the market.
Sure. That
was my big takeaway.
But I'm excited about King Mo entering Ryzen's tournament.
Let's talk about that. King Mo's in it. He's fighting Crow Cop. That's crazy. And also Shane Carwin is out.
Yeah. That I'm disappointed about, but obviously I'm happy that King Mo's in.
Family commitments is the reason why I was told Shane Carwin is out, so his return is delayed. But do you like this King Mo Crow Cop fight?
Yeah. What? You sound like you don't.
I don't know. Who do you favor?
That's an interesting one. I could see it going either way. I could see Crow Cop just being a little too big for King Mo. I could also see King Mo implementing a wrestling heavy game plan and taking it. But I mean, you have to have the guy who won the last tournament, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
Be in the next one. So
yeah,
I think this was inevitable. I like this.
Glenn Soras on Twitter asked me a question, which was going to be my next comment. What do I think about the Conor McGregor interview for RTE sportsperson of the year? Did you see this interview?
I did, yeah.
The weird thing about the beginning of the interview was the interviewer was not asking questions. She was just like making statements like, and you won in New York.
Yes, I did.
Did you notice that?
Sure, of course. I mean, yeah.
It was weird, but the last 60 seconds were gold. Do you agree with me on that? Fascinating.
Interesting.
Him mentioning the new UFC owners by name for the first time, still saying that they haven't reached out to him, still saying that he wasn't on board with the idea. You think this is all a ruse? You think this is all an angle?
I do. I think.
Come on.
I think they're smart.
Stop being so cynical.
How am I being cynical?
Because you think that everything it's such a
You're being
approach.
cynical. You want the chaos. You want
I'm looking at things face value. He's telling me they haven't spoken. I believe that they haven't spoken.
I don't take anything anybody says.
Wow. New York Rick calls Conor McGregor a liar. Put that on the next balls.ie article. I love that website, balls.ie.
But I truly, genuinely believe this is an angle.
What does that even mean, an angle?
I truly believe that it's good for business for this tension to be there between Conor and the UFC. And I don't think it's necessarily a conscious effort to, hey, let's get out there and say we haven't talked. But if the truth is we haven't talked, getting it out there is not necessarily the worst thing. It creates controversy. It creates people talking, and it's not a bad thing.
Fact or fiction? Conor McGregor fights before he becomes a father in May.
Fiction.
Wow, that's big. Buy or sell?
I mean, now you were just going on about how I don't take Conor McGregor at his word. He himself said that. He wants to take the time off.
But look what he said in the interview. He's like, what is this? Breaks? I thought it was going to be born in March. Maybe I could sneak one in. 10 months? I didn't say anything about 10 months. I mean...
No, maybe not 10 months, but he did say that. So I will take him at his word on this one.
Oh, stop it. Buy or sell Invicta Boxing? Is there a market for female boxing?
I have to think that there is... I don't think it's been done right yet. I think you'll agree with that, right?
No.
Female boxing hasn't really gotten the platform it deserves. So I'm hopeful for sure. And I think Shannon's the right person for it. And also having the name associated with an all-female fight league already is a leg up on anybody else who's trying to enter that type of
I wonder
game.
if it'll air on Fight Pass.
We'll see.
Buy or sell the Brock Lesnar, John Jones, Nate Diaz punishments from NAC and how they were presented. Brock Lesnar gets a year. John Jones gets the same year. Brock gets fined. Jones doesn't. Diaz gets, I think, 10% of his purse. But it was all done outside of the limelight. It was all done in the back, not really revealed. Do you like this new policy from the NAC?
Sure. I mean, what are they going to come out with a party?
Well, that's what they were doing in the past. The circus, right?
Yeah, sure. It's great. Who cares?
You're indifferent.
I mean, yeah, I really don't care about that.
Talk about ending strong. Okay, I want predictions on these fights announced last week.
Yeah.
Juliana Pena, Valentina Shevchenko.
Oh, boy. I'll go Pena.
JDS, Stefan Struve, 2.
JDS.
Masvidal Cerrone.
Oh, man, that one's a good fight. God dang. I'm gonna go Cerrone, but I really am not confident either way on that
Telling
one.
him,
It's super.
Call Masvidal up.
It's super close. I really don't know.
Derek Lewis, Travis Brown.
I'm gonna go Derek Lewis because I think he's just been more active on a better streak right now and has shown he could take a bit of punishment, which is an important important attribute for heavyweights at this level right now.
Andre Arlovsky, Francis Ngannou.
Oh boy. Arlovsky, but it's gonna be whoever gets punched first loses.
Well, is it Arlovsky or not?
I'm going Arlovsky, yeah, because I think he'll punch Francis first, but who knows? Whoever gets hit first is going down.
It's the worst prediction. Dustin Poirier, Jim Miller.
What's your prediction?
I don't make predictions.
There we go. Next.
Dan Hardy did the same thing to me. Dustin Poirier, Jim Miller.
Poirier.
Joseph Duffy, Reza Madadi.
Duffy.
And Kelvin Gastelum, Vitor Belfort at 185.
Gastelum.
Wow. Last comment. I just wanted to say, no, this is serious. I wanted to wish condolences and heartfelt thoughts and prayers with the family of Craig Sager. I don't know Craig Sager. I've never met Craig Sager. He has nothing to do with MMA, but in my opinion, the greatest sideline reporter in basketball history, one of the greatest in sports history. Just an amazing man. His fight, the perseverance, the heart, the courage, the speech at the ESPYs, incredibly inspiring stuff. Unfortunately, he passed away late last week due to his battle with leukemia. But by all accounts, I mean, I listened to tons of interviews about him, read tons of things about him, just an incredible human being. So I just wanted to, mention, how sad I was to hear of his passing, and for whatever it is worth, send my thoughts and my good wishes to his family. One of the great moments in NBA television history was when his son interviewed Greg Popovich. Remember that? And Greg said, "I want you back." That was amazing. I love that. So I just wanted to mention Craig Sager because these are people that I look up to in the broadcasting business. And I want to say just one more time how upset I am that I can't do the show next week and that I'm going to pout for the next week. And just be very sad about it because, I do dread doing the show Monday morning. Like I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But then I really feel good afterwards and I will miss it next week. So our streak comes to an end next week.
It was a good run.
It was a good run.
And the people will enjoy the show. Don't get them all pessimistic. Next week's show is going to be fun.
Yes. Next week's show will be fun. I hope that you will support it, but I do want to thank everyone, for an amazing year. Right. And we're going to recap the year, January 2nd in our awards. But I will say this, as we're still in 2016, I think that this has been, in my opinion, the best year in the history of the show. The guests were amazing. The production was amazing. I want to thank everyone in the back and everyone over there at Vox Media for giving us an amazing team back there. It's really been great. New York Rick, you do a good job sometimes. I don't want your head to get too big because I see how it's going on social media these days. So I just want to... But anyhow,
thank you.
It's been great, right? I mean, what a year it has been. 51 straight weeks. Never been done before on this particular show. Never been done before in the history of MMA YouTube shows. And it also featured your debut as host. We're still trying to work our way back from that moment. And it was just a lot of fun. And I also want to thank all the fighters who showed up, gave us some time. I always get a little emotional at the end of the day when I'm on, the train going back home. And I'm like, man, I can't believe these people were so nice to give us 20 minutes. Especially after big wins, big moments, big losses. It's really been great. Top of your head, favorite interview this year? Go.
Anything Derek Lewis.
Wow. That's interesting.
Derek Lewis really made a stamp on me this year. He brought it strong every single time he was on.
Yeah, it's amazing going back and looking at some of the interviews and wow, the names and just this little train that could. So again, thank you to all the people who have listened, who have watched live, who have downloaded, who come up to me at events, who ask me, believe it or not, where New York Rick is. They seem to think that you travel to the events. Maybe
they ask me a lot on Twitter.
Yeah, it's strange. Like, oh, are you covering this one? I'm like, this guy doesn't leave his house. Are you crazy? Why would he want to be out here with you? But no, really, we appreciate all of you. And it's been a great year. And here's to a great 2017. So you can hit my music. And I also want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas if you're celebrating next Sunday. I want to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah. I went to a Hanukkah party last night. Had some latkes, some dreidels, some sufganios, if you know what that is. That's a donut with jelly inside. It's one, I asked this to someone, and maybe someone could find out because I can't find the answer. One of the first times that I can recall, or the first time that the first night of Hanukkah lands on Christmas Eve. How about that? Talk about unity. Talk about the world coming together. December 24th, first night of Hanukkah, first night of Christmas Eve. I have lost it. Okay, we've been doing this for too long. Okay, thank you, everyone. It's been fun. I want to thank all the guests who tuned in today. I want to thank everyone who watched the show today. And I want to thank all of you who will be thinking about me next Monday as I anxiously pace my house, wondering what to do with myself on a Monday afternoon. Thank you very much to Cub Swanson. Congrats to him on the big win. Will he be Fight of the Year? We shall find out. January 2nd, the prestigious MMA Hour Awards. Thank you very much to Mike Winkeljohn. Congrats to him on the big win. For Michelle Waterson on Saturday. Thank you very much to Paul Craig. Oh, by the way, all the people telling me that Paul Craig, the nickname comes from Inglourious Basterds. I know that. Obviously, I know that. Quentin Tarantino. But he said that there was another reason from the gym. Of course, I knew that. Come on. Are you nuts? What's wrong with all of you? Thank you very much to Jorge Masvidal. Thank you very much to Cody Garbrandt. Good luck to him on December 30th. Congratulations to Michelle Waterson on the big win. Congrats to Mickey Gall. And thank you very much to Dan Hardy. Best of luck to him as well. Have a great holiday season. Back in January. Until they say peace, I'm out of here.